Tak.
Not even death can save you from me.
Good. Máme to přepnutý. Máme to přepnutý, chat, je to dobrý. Já vám ještě tam, když tak, pustnu ten link, aby se vám to načetlo. Ale vypadá to, že většina z vás to tady zvládla v pohodičce najít. Tady vysílám.
Not even death can save you from me.
Děkuju moc, Asfalte, děkuju, vítejte tady všichni. Vítám Aleša, Petra, Rytíře a Pádoše, vážím si toho. Mám se klid obraz nebo to nejde? Ne, jsem to jenom refreshoval. Jede to, ne, chat? Vidíte mě, slyšíte mě? Ahoj, když půjdu na Twitch, dostanu tu odměnu? Jo, dostaneš. Tak. Dám jídlo. Chcete něco podívat se? Podíváme se na ten stalker dokument třeba zatím, nebo co? Vidíme? OK. Děkuju. Kolik je odhalení? 21. To tady napíšu. OK. Thanks. Tak. Na dropy musím propojený účet. Jo. No jako nemusíš mít asi na dropy, ale aby si se vybral, tak jo. Bude žrádlo, chat. Bude žrádlo. Není zač, kámo. Mrkneme na to. Mrkneme na to video nějaký. Počkej, mrknu se prvně, jestli Diablo 4 už nevysílá, ale pochybuju. Děkuju, Randy, děkuju. Diablo zatím nevysílá, to je v pohodě. Tak. Tu si dát kafíčko, yes. Ale jak je mě koupit po 2, ale jedničku jsem nehrál. Jo, bude o hodně lehčí. Bude o hodně lehčí, kámo. To je dokument o stalkerovi.
Бажання потрапити в Чорнобильську зону відчуження в мене з'явилося ще в дитинстві. Коли вперше проникаєш в Чорнобильську зону, ти відчуваєш себе першовідкривателем. Що може бути більш таємничіше і відлюдькувате, ніж Чорнобильська зона відчуження.
Чарівний край Черемошай.
Щоб зробити відеогру на кшталт сталкера, треба зануритися в цю атмосферу. Не просто взяти візуальні референси, а передати саму суть та емоції зони. Знаходячись там, ти, звичайно, відчуваєш цей зв'язок з історією і з тими подіями, які відбувалися на цих територіях.
От це почерк.
У нас були такі випадки, коли йшов дощ, ми могли зайти в хату і просто годинами читати листи бабусі з її онуком, який жив під Києвом, і вони листувалися між собою ще до аварії. І ми сиділи, уявляючи, де зараз цей онук, скільки йому приблизно років, як в один момент це може зупинитися назавжди. І як в один момент можна втратити все.
Ніби правий, щось з кольорами. Типу кольорова гама, може самого монітору, треба дивитися.
Stalker 2 – найбільша гра, яку ми робили в історії компанії.
Мало хто може зрозуміти, що таке робити якийсь один продукт 5-6 років. Це невимовно тяжко.
Навіть якщо не дивитися на пандемію, війну.
Ці наші знають про такий краш на корівника?
Але є відповідальність, яку ми взяли перед співробітниками.
З фоткою просто де це? Якщо ми вже за щось беремося, ми це робимо, до кінця.
Важливі речі легко не даються ніколи.
Цей Gamescom 2023 – це буде перший раз, коли ми покажемо гру гравцям.
У мене Хелмет. Що ми копіюємо?
Hail
Хелмет.
We have a Hail Mary build. It's when you put all the fixes, all the improvements you want to put, you haven't had a chance to test it properly, and we have to find the bug and fix it.
And I'm nervous.
Players are having a chance to get their hands on the game.
You want to play?
Давай ще раз пройдемося.
We should let him work.
Для нас поїхати на Gamescom – це сміливе рішення. Типу, а якщо йому не сподобається? І ти про це думаєш, і тобі аж холодок по спині.
We understand this game has a lot of expectations from million of players. Тому що у 2007 році перший Stalker, вона була супер успішною.
So far, so good.
Ми стоїмо на спинах легенд, які створили перший Stalker. І нам не вибачать, якщо ми зробимо його меншим, ніж великим.
Дуже пам'ятаю опенінг-трейлер гри. Я не знаю, як висловити словами, але це було дуже емоційно.
Ця гра мала якийсь свій дух, свою душу. Я такого реально ніде не бачив.
If you only knew where I've just been and what I saw.
Stalker was one of the most breakthrough anticipated title of that time. A small studio was able to instill their culture, their background, and what that country had gone through in a fiction world.
Straight from the heart of the Ukraine, here's Stalker.
Сталкер – це бувається про шлях людини через цю Чорнобильську зону.
Це такий синтез класного шутера і радянської атмосфери, особливо там на Заході. Вона всіх цікавила.
Ігри сурвайвал жанру, вони існували, але конкретно так, як це показав Сталкер, його ніде не було.
I remember that I was walking into the swamps and they were dark and there were these death sounds. Something was howling in the background and I was just...
Jak se vám líbí dokument? Ten začátek byl dobrý. Já jsem jedl, Primele. Zdravím. Zdravím a díky. Já jsem ti mával.
І це саме те, що людям сподобалось.
Людина могла понуритися у цей світ і залишатися в ньому.
Tam máme Diablu, to je dost možný, no.
Сталкер не закінчувався, коли ти вставав від комп'ютера.
No, novej Campfire nebude moc lepší.
Робили дуже багато різних локальних евентів.
Vteřinku chat, sorry.
Ком'юніті.
Jsem se podíval na Facebook.
Він створив стиль життя. А це, це набагато більше, ніж просто гра.
Спочатку я думав, що це російська гра від російських розробників.
Stalker, Shadow of Chernobyl.
Але коли я дізнався, що це проект український, що його там зробили в Києві, там в місті, де я був, для мене це було відкриттям.
Pojďme na to. Jdeme na to za chviličku, jdeme na to. Jsem tady, paráda, vítej tady.
Це такі круті люди. І ти серед них.
Mám obírací kosti, dobrý. Tím si chce znovu nablizat na kolem komunitu, netuším.
Українців почали вирізняти в світі. І на той час, будемо відверті, ще ніхто не відділяв Україну від СРСР.
To je hustý, no. Tam měli všechny tyhle ty země, že jo, který dřív patřili k tomu ruskému bloku, že jo, tak prostě měli strašně velký vliv toho Ruska a dokonce v těch původních stalkerech, tak i ta ukrajinská armáda, tak tam mluví rusky, protože to prostě historicky k tomu odkazovalo. Když jsem byl třeba v Estonsku před 10 rokama nebo tak tam nám to taky říkali, že tam furt je jako ten vliv. Čauky, prezne, čau. Po rozhovoru s jinými hráčmi, kteří mají GP Blizzard, tak čekali jsme nějaký příchod něčeho a oni len aditivně bonusy. No tak jasně, to bude to samý. Nevíš, jak poznám, že se mi započítala ta odměna ten čas? Děkuji za odpověď. Hele, možná bychom se na to mohli podívat, ať to všichni máme v pohodě. Co říkáte? Já to zkusím teďka projít a přihlásit se na Path of Exile stránky a ukážu to jakoby radši všem. Jenom mě dejte vteřinku, protože já musím přijít na to, kterým účtem se tam mám přihlašovat. Jo. Těším na to čím ti víc. Paráda. Ve 21:00 půjdeme na to poečko, no. Mrkneme na to, co se tam odehrává, co se tam bude dít. To je sranda, jak na tom Twitchi všichni valej. Jak všichni valej toho Stalkera teď. Hele, já se musím jenom přihlásit, sorry. Sign request na mobilu. Přihlašte se určitě na svůj Path of Exile účet přes ten účet, který používáte. Já používám ten Steamový, takže logicky se tam přihlásím přes Steam. Já hnedka vám to ukážu, ale nechci tady líkovat svoje jméno a tak. Tak. Já mám len Steam, no jasně. Tak. Drops a odměny. Drops a odměny dáme. Tak, ještě tohle dám. GG Live Twitch Drops.
Not even death can save you from me.
Jo. Dnes to bude. Hledám Path of Exile. Zapnu to. Jo. Já to mám tady zapnuto, chat, jo. Já to mám u sebe zapnuto. Path of Exile 2, souhrn. Odměny pro vaši komunitu. Hands of Ksect. Zkontrolujte, že výše uvedené položky má povoleno, to máme. Hrajte Path of Exile nebo vysílejte, to budu mít, takže musíme se přepnout na Path of Exile kategorii potom, jo. A počkejte hodinu 30 minut a vyzvedněte si odměnu. Jo, je to... co musíte udělat? Co musí udělat vaše komunita? Účastní se živého kanálu, počká, jasně. Více o tomto drops. GGG live drops. How to participate. Simply link your Path of Exile account to Twitch. See below. Tady máme linking account. Počkej, já vám to skopíruju. Visit your Twitch settings, kopírovat odkaz, posílám to na...
Not even death can save you from me.
Počkej, poslal jsem to na YouTube, pošlu to ještě na Twitch. Tady to máte. Tady máte ten link, chat. Jo. A... teďka, když půjdeme do Twitch settings, pokud tvůj account není připojený, klik connect button. Tak dáme Twitch settings. Twitch rewards. Tvůj Path of Exile account je současně linknutý do tvýho Twitch accountu, Twitch drops, tvůj account je eligible získávat, takže je schopen získávat a participovat v Twitch dropech. Vy tady pravděpodobně, pokud to nemáte, tak tady budete mít tlačítko nebo něco takového ve stylu, jako Twitch prostě link nebo connect, conect, jo, s dvěma connect prostě. Takže na to klikneš a přihlásíš se pomocí toho na svůj Twitch. A musíte tady mít lognutou tu postavu, kde to chcete. Ať si to nalinknete třeba na starý účet, protože já tady těch účtů mám třeba 5. Takže je potřeba si to jakoby takhle srovnat. Jo? To je zatím asi všechno, chat. Je tady někdo, komu to není jasný? Je tady někdo, kdo s tím má problém? Nebo něco podobného? Je to OK takhle? No. Jsem to chtěl? Good. Mně to nejde, píše to unable to verify the connection to your Twitch account. If you keep seeing this message, you may need to relink your account. To znamená, že to musíš znova odhlásit a znova přihlásit ten účet. Jestli už ho tam třeba, jeho relink nejde, aha. Tak. Mrkneme, co nám tady píšou lidi pod video, na co jsem dneska vydával na tepíky. Zatím je to tady hodně pozitivní. Krátké video, jaké máš přesné nastavení, jako ukazuješ P28, v tom videu akorát přímo té hry, super resolution, fluid motion frames, enhancing, jasně. Mrknu na to. Nejsem profík. Tohle, ale zkusím. Tak. Hra měla vařit minimálně půl roku, ne, to říkáme to tak. Jo. Určitě to chce ještě hodně dejtů. Nejvíc mě štve AI a spawnování. Tak, dej jsem svou postavu. 6700 XT, 5600 X. Tak. Dobrý, dneska se nám daří, chat. Lajkneme si to? Nebudeme si to lajkovat. Dobrý, 52 lajků, 600 zlídnutí. Mám radost dneska, mám radost. Na PTR se pak připíše automaticky, až to stáhnu, když to budu mít předběžný přístup. Jo, jako pokud s tím stejným účtem, pokud budeš hrát na Steamu, tak to automaticky budeš mít na tom účtu. Sorry, teď jsem skompl. Někde na zem. Tak. Okay. Automaticky, když to stáhnu, bude, jasně. Když se rozjelo po nějaké době, tak to je super, kámo, to jsem rád. Jinak moc děkuju, že teďka tak šíleně followujete. Je to skvělý, chat. Děkuju za všechny followy na YouTube a na Twitch. Dělali jsme 10 000 na YouTube, jsme dělali v podstatě jakoby 2 roky nejvíc, ale jako dá se říct, že ještě díl, možná 3-4 roky. A teďka třeba jsme udělali 300 subů za tak týden na Twitchi, teda na YouTube. Takže děkuju. Krásně nám to valí. Co teď? Budeme pokračovat v tom koukání dokumentu na Stalker? Chce se tady někdo ještě dívat? Nebo už máme jenom kecat a čekat? Ono to tak za 5 minut pustějí totiž. Oni tak za 5 minut pustí Diablo. Čauky Fílo, jak je? Hele kámo, ani mi nemluv. Snažil jsem se 7 hodin zprovoznit Stalker, už mi funguje, ale bylo to boj. Tady na YouTube jsme to zprovozňovali s lidma. Děkuju všem, co se snažili a co tady zůstali. Už nám to jede, hráli jsme to, zkoušeli jsme to, bylo to zatím zábavný, ale má to svoje mouchy. Každopádně, jo. Jde to. Co ty, Fílo? Mimochodem, spousta updateů do mojí hry, nemusíš se bát, furt se tam něco děje. Děje se tam toho strašně moc, kámo. Teďka tam mám předělaný popisky předmětů, jsem upravoval ještě víc. Měnil jsem tam, jak funguje AI, že už můžeš mít persistentní kamarády ve hře. Můžeš mít takový třeba čokla, který s tebou běhá mezi scénama, což předtím nešlo. To bylo hodně složitý, ale můžeš díky tomu mít třeba summoner build, takže můžeš být třeba nekromancer, který má vyvolaný kostlivce. Dělal jsem tam úpravy pro itemy, jsou zajímavější. Takže je tam toho hodně. Jsou tam třeba nový runy, že když třeba máte item, dropnete u mě ve hře item, jako v RPG hře, tak jsou tam runy, do kterých můžeš jakoby dávat do socketů toho itemu, když nějaký má. Ale zároveň jsem tam udělal taky takovou runu, která pokud ten item má aspoň jeden socket, tak ty ji tam můžeš dát a ona se skonzumuje a ten item ti znova vytvoří. A ty máš šanci, že ti to dá třeba lepší item s lepšíma statama, s více socketama, ale stejně tak máš šanci, že ti to ten item posere a že třeba bude bez socketů a už na něm žádný sockety mít nebudeš. Takže taková jako reforge runa, to jsem tam teďka dělal. Spoustu věcí jsem udělal, no, hodně. A i nějaký nový grafický věci tam jsou jako je tam toho hromada. Jakou třídu postavu budeš... Jo, a víte, co jsem udělal? Já jsem vybuildil svoji hru na Steam Deck a funguje. A normálně valí, můžeš to hrát, máš tam nastavení jako na PCčku. Super, tyjo. Ta moje webka je úplně v hajzlu, jak jsme streamovali už dlouho, tak ona nějak úplně se přehřívá nebo něco. Sorry, že jsem takový rozmazaný občas. Tohle dělá ta moje webka normálně, nebo to dělá jenom dneska, že se takhle rozmazává? Teď jsem se propojil se Steam účtem na Twitch a co pak dál? No pokud máš PoE se Steam účtem, tak na PoEčku stačí ti jít na tu stránku, co jsem tady posílal, to je tato. A tady si linkneš ještě ten Twitch účet do toho Path of Exile účtu a teď stačí se koukat na mě na Twitchi, jo, takže stačí jít ke mně na Twitch, samozřejmě tady je odkaz na YouTube, posílám a tam se stačí dívat, ale samozřejmě od 21:00, jo, teď se budeme koukat na Diablo 4 odhalení 7. season teprve. V 21:00 začne až následně to další. V pohodě, v pořádku. Jinak jsem chat dělal i třeba pro vás nějaký tapetky, jsou tam i nějaký live tapety na Discordu pro členy, jak na YouTube, tak pro Twitch. Třeba teďka jsem tam upscaloval tohleto, protože to v PoEčku neměli jakoby upscalovaný a neměli tam tu levou stranu, tak jsem to dogeneroval a dělal jsem tam k tomu ten zbytek. Čauky, Fantomasy, nazdar.
If hatred came to life, what would it look like? So we're thinking
Už to začíná.
Black goo that's kind of like formless, but also have this red anger energy inside of it. And then with concept, we just want to make, cool monsters. What if it's 3 legs? What if it's no legs? What if it has like 3 arms? So we pushed a lot of like options and exploration. And then from then on, like everyone from narrative to design and concept would talk about it. It's like, okay, we like this one, and then we can push it and move it further.
Not even death can save you from me.
Ařmen.cz, děkuju.
Swarmer,
Vítej tady.
the spitter, the caster, and the brutes. A big thing for me was that the family need to be overwhelming without just relying on pure.
Znovu jsem skočil, čauky, ano, ne, čau, čau. Znovu jsem zkusil Torcha Infinity, přes to odpornou stylizaci mě to celkem chytlo.
Swarmer can teleport and attack you from
Jo, Libor,
behind,
taky jsem to říkal.
sides. The spitter is a slug with legs. They spew out this.
Seká se to mě, nebo se to seká jim zase?
Brute is the big hulking slow guy of the family. He has the shield that's buffing and making the rest of the army stronger. Caster is responsible for creating new swarmers. They also will channel onto a specific hollow and view them with extra hatred, makes them stronger and more deadly.
The Holocaster's role serves as an elegant, hovering yet menacing dungeon character in the game, really informed many of our design ideas.
When we want to make a new variant, we want to know in which specific area we would going to see that character or creature. Readability is like the main focus.
To možná budu snímat takhle.
The texture, the materials, and the camera testing.
The day after she gave me like, I don't know, what was that, 10 different variations? I was okay. Now we are talking.
The emission on the spikes really like.
To už taky sdílej po druhý tady tohleto video. A to nevadí.
And in the end, we have the version that we were both happy with, and yeah, hand it over to the tech artist.
We had some really strong narrative direction in understanding how big of a role hatred played, and we knew that we needed one look to tie it all together. This hatred has one source, and it's all about Mephisto. For the Hollow specifically, we identified that we wanted to do some special work with the materials, with the shaders for those characters. Shaders are the code that runs on the GPU that takes in all sorts of inputs like textures and lighting and position and outputs what the object's surface is supposed to look like. We wanted a shader that was capable of adding this sludge layer, this hatred layer over top of it and making it dynamic.
Jakube, děkuji ti moc za předplatný, kámo, užívej si s předstihem videa a taky přístup do soutěží. V prosinci bude zase nějaká určitě.
We were able to kind of apply that in all these different contexts, like the monsters, like the environment, the character armors even. Most of the shader work was done by Alex, who really took that shader function and made it work in all sorts of different contexts.
Bohužel no. To můžu mutnout, protože to stejně jakoby nikoho nezajímá, to je pravda. A můžeme se ještě chvilku povídat. Já nevím, no, mě vždycky strašně jako láká si udělat nějakou tu bingo kartu, ty vole. Já to tady vždycky udělám a potom to nikdy nevyužijem, jakoby. To je úplně na hovno. Malování. Sorry, chat. Někomu jsem dal epilepťák, za to se omlouvám. Vidíš to, to bylo zajímavý, viď? Tak. Tohle bude už lepší, hele, to už bude lepší. Tak. To takhle neuvidíte, takže dáme to takhle třeba. Takže na další streamě bingo nachystaný. Já ho ještě udělám. Ještě máme 6 minut. Uděláme bingo na Diablo, pak uděláme bingo na Path of Exile. Akorát to musím nějak nakreslit. Počkej, štětec, ano. Tak. Můžu ukázat kousek, jak to vyřešit hru. Dneska nevím, jestli to stihneme, někdy jindy možná. Slibování změn. Tak. Proč nepůjdeš stránky, co existují? Pošli. Jak se to jmenuje? Možná on ti nepůjde poslat odkaz, kámo. Jedině, že bys ho poslal na Twitch. A nebo mi prostě napiš, jak se ta stránka jmenuje. Já to tam s radostí použiju. S radostí to použiju. Myslel jsem jako námět na stream. Jo, takhle. No. Nevím, jestli by to lidi zajímalo, no. Těžko říct. Nerv Spirita bude? Já počkej, já chci, aby mi ten týpek poslal tu stránku na to bingo. Ukazuji NPC, jo, jasně, počkej, tak já ji zkusím vygooglovat. Bingo Maker, aha. Bingo Maker. Bingo Maker. Host a bingo?
Dragging a puppet around. So what I did is I kept the human figure as a focal point, but the rest of the creature is this.
To zkoušeli, ne? Nebo ne? To mělo nějaký limity, ne? Nebo ne?
A ball of hatred. It broke a lot of rules, but I just felt like this just fits. So I went ahead with it and rendered it out.
Zkusíme. Počkej.
I was looking at the concept for the first time with the designer on the feature, Charles, and we were kind of in this stunned silence for a little bit because it was this reaction of this
To nefunguje tak, jak bych chtěl.
Cool. And then we started thinking, how are we even going to make this thing?
Já to udělám v tom malování.
Typically, our monsters are bipedal.
Libování změn.
How's it gonna move? We can't rely on walk.
Kurňa, jak se to tam...
How's it gonna rotate? We can't rely on, the built-in rotation stuff without it looking weird as hell.
Jen.
It was clear that in order to make this animate and look natural, we were gonna have to pretty much dive into uncharted territory.
Nerv Spirita.
We wanted it to move in a very unique way. We wanted it to somersault through the air and be super unpredictable and just have ridiculous animations as the tentacles are flying all over the place.
Protože není 21.00, kamaráde. Máš to napsaný velkým písmem nahoře. Můžeš se koukat u mě na Twitchi, tam to budeme pak vysílat. Posunout klásy, ano.
Hey, we have this thing. We think it's really cool, but we need help figuring this out. So we had a lot of early collaboration, which was really what set us up for success.
When the animator came back with it, going from post to post rather than your normal animations,
další
yes, that's it. That's what hatred should feel like.
When you first find the priestess of hatred, it's going to look like
další
human corpse.
Tormented.
This doesn't look like a boss fight. I'm in the boss arena. What's going on? But as you approach, you see that the body gets pulled into a giant pool of hatred, and then out of that pool of hatred comes this giant massive
početame.
and that is the boss. So
vidíme tapatu. To nemluví, ale je to nudný, tak jsme to vypli. Jo, takhle, vy jste to neviděli ani to malování. OK, tohle bude lepší. Tohle bude lepší. Co tam dáme dál? Co dáme dál do bingo karty? Armory. Já jsem streamer začátečník, čet. Nové. Další generický dungeon endgame.
The hollows are just such a unique family. From the moment they spawn in on your screen, you can tell that they are different.
Mechaniky nové, jo. Nové mechaniky, pochybuju. Zlepšení run. Plan activity. To je úplně zbytečný tam psát do toho binga, když to tam nikdy nedají. Hejternice nejsou schopni udělat ani Party Finder pořádně, tak... Slyšíme feedback.
I should feel the fear while I'm doing it. is a reminder of that. The eye also serves as a warning. Like, get moving. Don't dwell too long and wander around, you know. Get this thing moving.
To už tam máme mytiky, nebo jako máme mytiky, no. Můžeme dát uniky. Jako nové itemy tam budou 100%, to je jako bingo nebingo. Něco posledního, něco dobrýho. Něco dobrýho vymyšlete.
Hello, Diablo community. Welcome to another Diablo 4 campfire chat with a creepy eyeball we were just talking about. This one is our patch 2.1 PTR campfire chat. I know we were just here last week. We were talking about the mid-season update, but this one is kind of like the big one because we're going to be talking about everything coming at patch 2.1 and season 7. I am joined here by Mr. Colin Feiner, Mr. Charles Dunn, who have appeared on prior campfire chats. We were going to have Adam Jackson. He is unfortunately not feeling very well, so we hope he gets better soon. And we Adam Jackson have another guest here who is live from Albany, Blizzard Albany, and that is Mr. Dan Tangway, who's going to be talking a little bit as well about what's coming up for patch 2.1. And he's showing off his red Diablo 4 jacket. We have our new black Diablo 4 jackets as well. Look at that.
I know we make it, tak to jsem rád.
How are you, Dan? Hopefully you're good.
Tak.
And he's not sure if he can hear me. But either way, a few things that we do want to talk about before we actually do jump into everything. Obviously, PTR is coming up soon. We are doing this stream a little early this time, mainly because the Thanksgiving holiday is coming up here in the US. And so we are going to be talking about some contents before even the patch notes are ready. We do plan on having a blog immediately after this stream, so players can actually check out the blog and read a little bit more about what we talked about today. But the patch notes will be available next Wednesday for players to actually check out. So before the US holiday here, so everyone can kind of dive deep into the patch notes for PTR. PTR is currently planned to start on December 3rd, so that will be after the US holidays here for Thanksgiving.
3. prosince bude PTR na 7. sezónu, tak to hrát nikdo nebude kvůli Path of Exile.
Jump into, but I know what we want to do is really just dive straight deep into all the new stuff that we do want to talk about. So for the first thing we do want to chat about is season 7 and what that's going to be. So we're actually going to jump over to Mr. Dan Tangway in Albany to kind of walk us through. So Dan, do you want to take over?
Oh no.
Dan can't currently hear.
All right, what happened?
So I don't know what happened. I mean, you know, maybe we don't have satellites.
Špatný datum, no.
So instead, I guess we'll just start with classes first.
Ale jako, to už ani nebudu stahovat kvůli těm.
Do you want to talk about class changes that are coming with Season 7? I know we talked a little bit about this last week with Adam Jackson. Just a reminder, Spiritborn, expect that to be addressed for Season 7, and we will actually be talking a little bit about that now. So, Charles,
yeah, absolutely. I'd love to talk about some of the changes coming to all the different classes in Diablo 4, as well as some broader, more systemic updates that are happening that kind of affect all classes equally in a way. Yeah, so like I said, just going through individual class by class, seeing some of the new stuff that's coming for a lot of the classes. Let's start with the Barbarian, I believe is the first one up. Yeah, so Barbarian is definitely a class that you know, we think a lot of the classes have been performing pretty well across the board. They're always a step under the Spiritborn, but Barbarian maybe a step and a half below, and so we're looking at a lot of buffs across the board for them here. Specifically looking at some stuff with Hammer of the Ancients, buffing that number up here. A little bit of a rework to the Walking Arsenal passive. Previously, it was the bonus was just 8%. Now we're going to be giving you a bigger bonus, and when you have all of them active, you're going to get more attack speed and some bonus. Which I think really plays into that that kind of build. Additionally, we're also updating Earthquakes. That has been one of my favorite builds on Barbarian, right? Just seeing those big earthquakes come out everywhere.
Leafquake is the best.
Leafquake, the visuals on that is just top notch. So we're really, we took some lessons from what we did on rogues in the past with their stun grenades power. where a lot of the legendaries that talk to stun grenades also had kind of this extra bit where it increased the damage of all of your stun grenades, so that you kind of got these synergistic builds with the various aspects all together. And we're extending that over to earthquakes now here. So we're adding on basically, hey, all these ones that talk to earthquakes, just they increase the damage of all of them overall.
Yeah, it's a little bit less finicky too, right? Because now it lasts after the earthquake expires, or if you leave it.
Absolutely. So we think this would just be a much more comprehensive build overall. We also got a new legendary that talks directly to earthquakes as well.
Nová legendárka.
Ups their damage and increases
Earthquakey dávají o 55% multiplikativně větší damage.
And I think this is really cool.
A jejich damage je konvertováno do ohně.
We're going to see some more stuff as you actually get onto the PTR, but I think Earthquakes and Hammer of the Ancients might be a build that you're going to be very interested in combining those two with some of the stuff that you will see come PTR.
Tak jako bude asi nějaký Earthquake build, no, nový.
Sorceress, one of the key notes that we've noticed with Sorceress over the whole lifespan of Diablo as Diablo 4 is that players often felt like they were pigeonholed into burning builds in particular. Firebolt enchantment is probably the most used enchantment by far, because it was just kind of a free way to apply a very small amount of burning to enemies, but that was what you needed to turn on a lot of the passives in their skill tree. And you know, that was a powerful build.
Burning je prakticky nehratelný, protože na samotný hoření nemůžeš hrát. A oni tomu seberou ještě víc damage a převedou to do healování na Swordsku, jo. To teda, to zase vylepšili.
We really want these burning synergies to really be benefiting builds that are dedicated to burning type builds.
Hej, oni jsou úplně mimo. Oni nechápou, že jejich buildy nefungují na burningu, ale na kritu.
Remove the burning damage from the enchantment and change it over to this, which has a healing component to it. And then we also updated a lot of those burning passives to really play better in the dedicated fire-based builds, rather than being something that
editujou spoustu pasivek, abyste mohli hrát víc na burning, tak to jsem zvědavý.
Yeah, that is one of the main driving goals of a lot of our updates.
Já nemůžu, hej.
Build variety, so you don't feel like you have to take this.
Tvoje pyromancy skilly udělují o 10% multiplikativní zvětšený critical strike damage. Takže prostě místo toho, abys nějak fixnul, že tvoje hra má buildy jenom přes kryty a abys třeba teda boostnul damage toho hoření samotného, tak radši uděláš to, že to hoření může kryt, jakoby prostě boostuješ to, co je tam špatně na tom. Oni buffujou to, na co si lidi stěžujou, že všichni hrajou přes crit a přes crit damage. Tak oni to ještě buffnou. Hej, oni fakt nechápou, že ta build variety je úplně na hovno v té hře. Oni to nechápou.
On to the next one, we also did some updates for Ball Lightning. So Ball Lightning, the previous upgrades, like kind of these Mage's Ball Lightning and Wizard's Ball Lightning, were about stunning enemies or spawning some cracked energy with admittedly some kind of complex conditions.
Tady místo stanování budeš dávat větší damage, dostanu těch nepřátel o 30% multiplikativně. Tady ti to dá 2 crackling energies.
Absolutely. So we've got the Mage's Ball Lightning here that
Čauky,
is just increasing its damage against stun enemies. It's really the payoff for a lot of the lightning stun effects, and then Wizard's Ball Lightning is just
na Humble Bundle, tam mám slevu 15%.
Just more consistent generation there.
Mrknu.
All right, on to the next one. We've got so the new uniques.
Nové unique. Pokus, což je fajn.
About Ball Lightning. So this is actually something interesting we're doing this season, where we're making 2 uniques that are in the same slot.
2 uniky pro stejný slot. Modifikují skilly. To je dobrý. Tohle ti udělá takovou brokovnici v podstatě z Ball Lightningu, což je super, pokud tam budeš mít to rotování tomu.
And I think this is really cool. It offers a switched up play style, so the way you're familiar with Ball Lightning, which was kind of slow moving forward, or if you pick the other unique, you can actually retain the old gravitational aspect. So we can go on and take a look at that one here.
Tady druhý, taky na Ball Lightning asi teda. No, už.
Right, so a lot of the ball lightning builds in the past were using the gravitational aspect that caused it to rotate around you, and we've updated that and kind of reworked the gravitational aspect so that now that functionality is built into this new unique and also has some additional bonuses.
Oni předělali ten aspekt, který ti dával ty koule kolem tebe na unique. Jestli odstranili ten původní aspekt, tak strašně podělají lidi podle mě. Proč bys forsoval člověka nutně mít nějaký unique, víš co? Ale snad to bude v obou případech.
One thing I do want to call out here is the inherent affix on this, right up near the top. That
to je blbost, aby to na dvou místech.
This makes it a lot smoother to just be moving around and just keep on clicking that ball lightning, and you're not going to have to like stop like that, very short half-second stop to cast it. It just feels much smoother, and this is one that you really, this build is just wants to be on the move, right? And that encourages that. All right, so let's talk about the Druid next. So this one, Druid is this season a lot of werewolf updates. Season of the Werewolf. I absolutely love werewolf builds, and I think they've been, maybe a little bit behind the rest of the builds over the course of Diablo's history. And so this season,
Poison buildy update. To vás dopadne, ty vole.
Making that build come up to par.
Yeah, like pure werewolf, right? Not
pure werewolf.
Mixing it with other things.
Yeah, a lot of times you saw some like rapid shape-shifting builds, and those are fun. Those are great.
Poison nejde v téhle hře teď hrát na ničem, natož na druidovi.
Wasn't quite hitting the mark, and so that's
by musel dostat update o 2000% nahoru damage.
Let's take a look at some of these updates. So we've got updates to Shred, the main core skill for these werewolf builds. Previously, the Raging Shred upgrade was just a combo attack that applied some poisoning damage. So now it's going to still do that and apply a lot
Pořád to dá poison damage.
Also going to cause them to take
a taky to bude brát o 30% víc multiplikativně poison damage, ale to nikdo takhle hrát nebude.
Move on your combo or your core combo, but then it also enhances all of the other.
Ten shred žere strašně moc energie a ty potřebuješ ten shred taky jako na ten movement, je to strašně velký trade-off.
We've got updates to Boulder. Now this isn't necessarily with the werewolf theme, but
Boulder nyní dává poison damage a aplikuje 156 poison. Zajímavý.
And they were both fairly similar. They both dealt with critical strike chance or critical strike damage, and we thought that was an opportunity to rework one of them to give it a different identity. And basically the identity was Poison Boulder. Like just a giant ball.
Poison Boulder zní zajímavě, ale jako Poison musí dostat sám o sobě mega buff, jinak to nebude fungovat.
Yeah, and we got some really sweet visuals for it too. I'm not sure if we have a video.
Poison nemůže kritovat. A pokud ve hře fungují jenom crit buildy, tak to nemůže fungovat.
Yeah, it's got some cool visuals associated with it.
Ještě že nehraju.
And so that one will be very cool. Definitely check that one out.
This one I'm very excited about because
Bloodhound,
as we see, like, has always just generated.
I dá 20 spiritů, uděleš o 25% zvýšený damage, pokud se shapeshiftneš z werewolf formy. Jo, jakoby dokud se neshapeshiftneš z werewolf formy. Takže čím díl tam seš, tím díl máš ten bonus.
Hey, we want to really reward you for staying in the werewolf form and really committing to that identity and just making sure that felt like an appropriate payoff, and this is one of the areas that we're doing that in. All right, so let's talk a little bit about one of the updated legendaries. So the aspect of the blurred beast. So this previously
Shred dá 4 útoky zároveň. Na základě vzdálenosti, kterou ucestuješ, až 4 útoky. OK, Václave. Dívek se díky.
And depending on how far you're traveling for Shred, you're going to do some bonus hits. And it looks so cool. Your werewolf is dashing across the screen and then just doing this like multi-hit kind of attack. And so if you're really close, you're just going to get maybe one additional strike, but if you're at this further distance, as you see in this clip, you're going to get the full
Tohle může být fajn.
So it's really about
čtyřnásobný damage prakticky pomocí jednoho aspektu pro Shred je hodně huge. Hodně dobrý.
That's awesome. And it's going to be really great for like movement, just moving around across the map, which I know movement is always a big thing that players really want.
Ten content, to já taky, no.
So it'll be cool to see people.
Ty číslíčka mě tady moc nevzrušují.
With the aspect of the blue beast, so very cool.
Yeah, it's always great when we can inject like changing how you play also, right? Because you can imagine like
Black Phoenix se stal předplatitelem, děkuju ti moc, kámo. Užívej si videa s předstihem a soutěže a tak dále.
Absolutely. This is one of my favorite ones in this patch, actually. Big fan of a lot of these Druid updates. Aspect of Wolf's Reign. So
Casting hurricanů. Spawne malej hurikán kolem tvých vlků.
So when you cast Hurricane, all of your wolves actually spawn a little mini hurricane of their own.
Hurikán je sám o sobě docela silný a může overpowerovat i kritovat. Jenom přes Twitch dostaneš skin na palečko. www.twitch.tv/Viktor Branek bez diakritiky, bez háčků, bez mezer. Nebo vykřičník Twitch.
Alright, moving on to Rogue. So this is one that Shadow Clone has been probably the rogue skill that I would say maybe wasn't quite hitting the mark compared to most other skills. And that was for a variety of reasons. And not to get too technical here on the details, but
kritické údery dávají o 19% zvětšený moment speed. Shadow Clony dostávají summon skill tag a atributujou všechno jejich damage do hráče. Tohle znamená, že můžou triggerovat všechny lucky hit efekty. To je zajímavý, takže Shadow Clony z Uroguni jsou prakticky samoni teď. To je cool. Potr zombika, nazdar. Zdravím sousede. Děkuju za follow.
Behave the way you expect, and then also extend that to a lot of the other summons in the game. The summons like your necromancer skeletons, your druid companions, and so on. So we did basically a rework of that entire system. And the long and short of it is that they should just work a whole lot better going forward in this season, where they're going to trigger all of your lucky hit effects.
Že předělali samony obecně, že budou mít jakoby tady tyhle ty možnosti, aplikovat lucky hit efekty, atributovat do tvýho damage tak. I pro druida třeba. To je super. Třeba ty tvoji vlci můžou aplikovat nějaký tu aspekt, který dává random někdy damage třeba někde. To je dobrý. To je hodně dobrý. Necromancer Summoner bude strašně dobrý. Budeš mít třeba Harlequinku, tak všichni tvoji minioni můžou aplikovat Harlequinku. Tohle se povedlo. Konečně samoni budou dávat logiku. Nový unique. Tomáš Kordo se stal předplatitelem. Děkuji ti moc, kámo. Vítej, užívej si videjka, další výhody. Vítej. Vážím si toho.
Skills are going to always be shadow imbued with some bonus potency, so they're going to do some more damage. And whenever you damage an elite or boss with a mobility skill,
vždycky mobility skilly budou vždycky shadow a poškození elitky nebo bosse s mobility skillem má 80% šanci triggerovat zdarma shadow imbuement explozi. To je hodně dobrý. Budeš skákat všude, běhat, bouchat. Tohle je boží. To bude nějaký nový build, takový bomber skákací. To bude mega dobrý, tohle.
Really cool, unique for that kind of build.
To bude strašně dobrý.
Additionally, caltrops,
jestli to bude fungovat, ano.
The skill that was the most kind of clunky and control-wise to use. If you've ever tried to use
animace caltropu byla odstraněna, takže už nebudeš odskakovat. Prostě to jenom hodíš. To je taky dobře.
We've updated the animation here to just basically be very similar to the smoke grenade skill.
Je bude silný? Myslím, že jo.
Your character throws it. And it just goes where you point it.
I am the king of like caltropping one minion out of like 100 and then also falling, like jumping back into like a giant mob and going like, well, I didn't calculate that correctly. So that update, I've we were talking about this beforehand, like before we even went live, and I was like,
jo, ty úskoky byly.
I was like, oh my god, please. So yeah, I'm excited for that.
Caltrop should be so much more useful now, and we think that this is a really good change going forward.
Jsem zvědavý.
All right, on to the Necromancer. So Necromancer, we've done some improved itemization and updates to the overpower synergies, specifically the Rathma's Vigor key passive. So previously, it would just give you some an overpower once every 12 seconds.
Předtím to dával za 12 vteřin overpower.
Or when you overhealed for some bonus life, and now we're just tacking on a big chunk of overpower damage.
Teďka ti to dá mnohem víc toho overpower damage ještě jako bonus 120% multiplikativní k tomu. Ale je to jednou za 15 vteřin. Ale třeba ten Blood Necromancer, jak jsem ho hrál, jak mám na něj build, tak ten byl strašně dobrý. Bloodwave, nebo co to bylo? Newsletter, vítej.
We've got one of the new uniques. So similar to what we did with the Sorcerer, where we had kind of these paired uniques, we're going to have 2 uniques in the same slot for Necromancer as well. This time in the pants slot.
Čauky, máte si, ahoj.
Pavle,
děkuji ti za odběr.
So this one, Kasemi's Legacy, will
Tohle je dobrý.
Instead of shooting one bloodwave
formuje vlnu na každé straně.
Two that kind of converge on you.
Stáhne to nepřátele k tobě, vybuchne to. Pokaždý, když jsou trefovaný tou vlnou, tak berou větší damage, až o 300%. To je dobrý. To je hodně silný.
So definitely turns Bloodwave into a much more damage focused skill and a little bit less on the CC or the knockback crowd control of it.
Borci to fakt nehrajou. Mění Bloodwaves ze support skillu. Minulou sezónu s ním borci dávali miliardy.
Indria's Memory, where it still shoots the Bloodwave forward, and then at the end of its path, it will trap the targets in a bone prison. So this is a unique that is very much about combining blood and bone.
Takže tohleto ti udělá tu vlnu a pak je to chytne v tom vězení zadarmo. A zároveň Bone Spear je zároveň blood skill a vysává 10% životů maximálních za každý cast po trefení nepřítele, aby skonzumoval okolní korpsky, aby střelí další Bone Speary. OK, Johnny, děkuji. Tohle vypadá zajímavě. To ovlivňuje 2 spely, to je hodně dobrý. Synergické uniky, jo, konečně. Bingo vychází, no. Musíme to zabingovat.
It really comes together to be a very strong build when you're using the Bone Spear and the Blood Wave, and then casting Bone Spear reduces Blood Wave's cooldown. That's the inherent affix on these legs. Really makes a really cool build that I think synergizes very nicely.
Yeah, it's awesome.
All right, and so on to the Spiritborn. So we kind of
warned
at the start. Spiritborn we recognize has been one or multiple steps above most other classes, and players have fun. People love playing the Spiritborn. Very powerful, and we really like that. But we do have to recognize, for the long term health.
Core skilly jsou zároveň basic skilly a nemají to redukovanou damage. Když vykástí jenom na maximální vigoru, tvoje core skilly skonzumují všechen vigor, aby se vrátil ve full damage. Vykástí se v největší size, jsou garantovaný critical strike z 0,5 multiplikátorů, zvýšený critical strike damage za každý point vigoru. To je brutální nerv. To je nerv, ty vole, o strašně. 70%, 80%. To je hustý.
Yeah, we do
no,
think that
mega main damage.
Target there is closer to where the other 5 classes are, and Spiritborn was just, too high up. And it's rather than try to power creep the whole game, we'd like to make sure we make some small improvements everywhere else to the underperforming builds and those ones that don't have enough love, and then get Spiritborn back down to a more healthy spot.
Já nejsem moc matematik, ale čekal jsem tak 80.
Or biggest power points rather of on the Spiritborn was the Rod of Kapaleki here. This one is the one that converts your core skills.
Razor Wings buff. Ty vole, se bude hrát ten Hammerdin, ten build. Jak kolem tebe lítají i ty hammery, jakoby, to je mega dobrý.
And admittedly, the calculations there
a Centipede, no.
And so we've simplified it down a little bit where the
a opravili hromadu issues, takže to bude hodně nerflý asi.
It will be substantially less. Previously it was
Spirit nebude slabý, ale bude nerflý, no.
Down to 0.1 to 0.5 per point of vigor there. We think this will bring it to a much healthier spot, but still kind of retain the core fantasy and the core build implications of this item. It just won't be pushing quite the same trillions of damage that we were seeing before.
We also fixed some of the issues called out here at the above, like viscous shield and things like that, scaling in unintended ways that were just way outside of our expectations.
Yeah, definitely some unintended kind of bugged interactions that were maybe double
dobrý, to už jsme slyšeli. Dělejte.
We've taken a pass to make those more in line with our expectations.
Tak.
All right.
Nový aspekt, Razor Wings, když trefují nepřítele, tak to zvyšuje tvoje Eagle Skill Damage o 1% na 4 vteřiny, až 50%. Razor Wings kritický údery garantují 3 stacky. Super, ten Hammered se bude hrát 100%, ten bude super silný. Já jsem X-ma Tesáku viděl ten build a nepřišel mi to, třeba tam má něco špatně. Ale jako teď tady bude mít spoustu synergií, takže bude lepší třeba. Čauky, Marťas. Už nám jel Stalker, Marťo. Pak máme záznam dneška. Přeskoč první hodinu a pak už jsem to rozjel. Aktualizace na pole 1. Díky. Tam dávají tu novou sezónu, to je restart do polečka jedničky.
Some of the underused uniques as well. Ring of Writhing Moon here. This one would trigger Pestilence Swarm every 10 seconds. We felt like
Pestilence Swarm spawne každý 4 vteřiny se teďka místo 10 vteřin. A tvoje Pestilence Swarmy orbitujou kolem tebe a generují 3 vigory. Takže budeš moc lépe udržovat ten vigor na sobě. Dobrý. Good. Děkuju za follow. Tebe Black to. Touch dead. Jo, na něj to možná bude dobrý. Ultimátní updaty. Nové bonusy, které se odemknou na ranku 5 na ultimátkách postav a mění damage scaling. Nový support pro ultimátní damage scaly ve skill tree a v Paragon deskách. Dobrý. Accelerate dostane na 5. ranku zvýšený damage o 40% tvýho Critical Strike damage bonusu.
So you can see on the left, Lacerate at rank 1 is doing about 38,000 damage, but you rank it up to 5, and it goes crazy high up to 119,000 damage, because it's now getting that Critical Strike damage scaler. And so if you really want to build a dedicated Lacerate build,
to jako takhle vyscaluje, jakoby dost ukazujou, no.
This is going to be a great way to build around it and a good reward for investing all those extra skill points.
U Soul Riftu každých 30 zkonzumovaných soulů něco. Čauky, Antonasi, začínám zase jedna. Jo, to je to.
If you just wanted the access to the utility of the ultimate,
jasný, Marťo, chápu.
You get 1 point, you get the utility, maybe you get some buff from it. But if you really want to,
já jsem si myslel, že ten týpek má tričku od Agreluse.
Skill ranks feels meaningful, and we think these rank 5 bonuses on ultimates in particular is going to be a really good way to pay off those ultimate builds.
Definitely.
All right, we've also got some new generic legendary aspects to really.
Nový generický legendární aspekty. Vykázání ultimátního skillu zvyšuje tvoje damage o 30% multiplikativně na 8 vteřin. Dostaneš 4 další ultimate skill ranky. Wow, to je zajímavý. Vykázání ultimátky zvyšuje tvoje ultimátní damage o 18% multiplikativně až o 180%. Na 10 stacích tvoje cooldown, tvůj cooldown a tenhle ten bonus jsou resetovány. To je super. Pro Spiritbornu. Nebo pro Necromancera třeba. I vlastně možná i pro druida přes Catalyst.
So this will be really good for like rogues
je to možné.
To really get that ultimate cooldown reduction. Or any build that really wants to focus around casting your ult many times in a row.
Jako já jsem chtěl hrát nějaký build přes ultimátku, přes Hakan Favor na Roguně. Možná si zhrajou Rogunku. Vidíme.
All right, we've also done some updates to the rune words. So rune words,
runewordy.
Feature has been really well.
Budou se častěji prokovat, protože mají jakoby menší požadavky na to proknutí, takže budou častější.
and update some of the old ones.
Některé rituální runy byly redesignovány, aby měly větší potenciál. Vykáž si 5 skillů a potom budeš vyčerpán na 3 vteřiny, že tě to zpomalí. Okay. Jo, jsou to po 1%, no. Máme to tady, číslička.
Larger potential moments.
Slyšíme feedback, to už taky říkali.
Example here on the seer rune. This generates a ton of offering, 300 offering at once. And you get that by casting 5 skills. But then, instead of just casting 5 skills and then generating all of it and then casting 5 again instantly, we've added in this exhausted period for 3 seconds. So you can get that.
Ale já jsem chtěl, aby ty runy přidávaly atributy k itemům, ne tady ty hovna. Že to přidá víc někde nějakých procent, jak říká Marta, to je o ničem. Má to být jak runy z Diabla 2, to by bylo dobrý.
But then it is followed by a little bit of a weaker moment where you can't generate that. Rather than every rune always just being a steady amount, we would like to have those peaks and valleys.
Nové runy, no.
More interesting moments of the gameplay.
To není moc dobrý, když to zpomalí, přesně. Oni nechápou, že ty hráči to budou na to nadávat, že tě to zpomaluje a nikdo to nebude používat kvůli tomu. To oni nechápou. Oni to stejně oni to odstraní další sezónu, neboj.
So let's talk about some of the other runes we've got.
Some new runes to show off.
Vysedl craftovat, no?
3 new rune words here. The
nový rune wordy.
A legendary rune that will gain 100 offering.
Udržuj aspoň jednoho aktivního samona na 5 vteřin. Dostaneš offering.
And so as I kind of alluded to earlier with the shadow clone section.
Jo, jakoby jasný. Když 5 vteřin máš samona, tak dostaneš z toho offeringu a můžeš jich mít až jakoby 6. Okay.
Druid companions,
storuje nějaký offering, nějakou každý 0,3 vteřiny, vykásní non-basic skillů, aby si získal stornutý offering. Jo. Je každých 0,3 vteřiny, když dáš basic, tak ti to dá 25 offeringů. Až do 500. Tady tohleto invokuješ druidův lightning bolt a probleskneš blízko nepřítele. Tak ničemu podle mě.
And you actually cash it in by casting a non-basic skill.
Jedině pro Sorsku třeba je to dobrý.
You're out there kind of spamming your basic skill, you're going to be kind of banking up this
nemáš pravdu.
And then when you cast a non-basic, you cash all in, you probably trigger the rune it's connected to, you get a big overflow, you get a big moment of power there. And finally, we've got the Chalk rune that generates, or requires 20 offering rather, and this will invoke Druid's Lightning Bolt. That's one of those it's not the core skill, but Lightning Bolt is kind of that other power in the Druid's kit, similar to like Earthquake or Stun Grenades. Yeah. So enable those kind of builds to really tap into that effect.
Awesome. Lots of runes.
Yeah.
Lots of rune updates. Lots of changes coming to classes. You know, there's more changes in the notes that we'll have that will be hitting next week. So players can look into those. These are just a few examples that we have for PTR.
Nebude? Asi ne. Děkuju všem, co jste tady mimochodem, vážím si to, že takhle chodíte na streamy, 100 lidí na Twitchi, 160 na YouTube. Děkuju, vážím si toho. Pokud se vám video líbí, na YouTube můžete dát like.
Let us know. Like, we want people to try those out, like test it out, so that we have the feedback, so that before we go live with patch 2.1, we can end up making any feedback.
Zatím velký špatný. Jako ty změny nebyly špatný, ale já chci vidět obsah.
Thank you so much for walking us through all the different class changes and everything like that, Charles. Do we have Dan available from Albany? We do have Dan. Dan
I can hear you now.
Oh, there we go. Hey, I was like, Dan was just
Dan's
like
Albania.
at the camera, and I was like,
yes, I was.
But Dan is actually going to be talking about all the new content that's coming in patch
Nový obsah.
With season 7. So Dan, do you want to take it away and talk to us a little bit about it?
Absolutely. A couple of technical difficulties could not keep me from sharing this with everybody. So, this PTR for patch 2.1 is PTR
21 přepínám na nebojte.
This is going to be the first time that we're bringing the seasonal realm to a PTR. So what does this mean? We've got a lot of seasonal content coming up in Season 7, and we want to be able to get all of your feedback on this content. It's pretty important for us to, like Adam was saying, really have those iteration cycles where y'all are able to test and, you know, show what's working.
Sezónní obsah přijde poprvé na PTR.
This is also going to be the first time since season 2
Borrowed power se
that we're
navrací.
bringing back seasonal character powers.
Navrací sezónní charakter sílu. OK.
They were vampire powers.
Něco jako Vampire Powers nebo něco takového. To by mohlo být zajímavý. A představujeme Witchcraft. Witchcraft, jo.
This time it's going to be witchcraft. And so I'm excited to really dig into that right now and tease out what y'all
Mám 20 minut na tebe.
a couple weeks. So witchcraft enables you as a practitioner to call upon the power of the swamp to do your bidding.
Přivoláš sílu bažiny, aby udělala, co chceš. Ano, 30 eček, Tome. To už je potvrzený, 30 eček minimum. Headrotten, nový monstra.
And you're going to slay them and collect what we call restless rot. And this is going to be our currency for the season.
Dostaneš restless rot, což je nějaká teda hniloba, jakoby. Budeš sbírat. Budou tam čarodějnice. Budou kolem Tree of Whispers. Budou mít oltáře. Nabídneš jim restless rot výměnou za witchcraft. Naučíš se witchcraft. Ano, Efrejte, bude to Twitch drop. Spoj si účet s Twitchem, z YouTube, s Twitchem a s Path of Exile. Vybav si svoje síly ve witchcraft menu.
And the result is this witchcraft menu that you can see in front of you. And so equipping is going to be super simple. You've got inventory on the bottom, and then you're going to drag or otherwise move that power to one of the slots up top. And you're going to have 5 normal slots, 5 normal powers you can equip at any point, and 1 unique power for, you know, really special witchcraft that you can find.
Smrtící hejno netopírů. Kolem nepřátel každý vteřiny inflikuje 10 000 ohní poškození, 10 ataků. Nepřátelé, kterou tvojí 15 ataků, jsou zastunovaní. 5 normálních sil a 1 unikátní síla si můžeš equipnout. Vyupgrade si Witchcraft přímo z inventáře použitím Restless Rotu. Můžeš to upgradeit, takže to bude jak ty Vampire síly. Budou mít samozřejmě to, tabulu, reputační. Zabíjení těch monster ti dá ten Restless Rod a tím si dokončuješ Whispery a to ti zvyšuje rank.
You're going to also unlock at certain ranks new witchcraft.
Na určitých týrech si odemkneš nové witchcrafty na naučení. Armor do 9.
We're bringing back the resplendent spark as well. So that's going to be at the end of your Coven's favor rank.
Resplendent sparky se navrací. Budou v tom.
Crafting, you know, a random mythic unique to actually targeting uniques using a lot of those runes that you can earn in the game.
Mega, Marťo. Nejvíc od launche. Nejhorší sezóna, co se týká počtu hráčů. Teďka je. Objev zapomenuté oltáře v dungeonech. V Sanctuary, musíš je najít. Jsou zapomenuté, které ti naučí zapomenuté síly. Takže takový oltáře. OK. To je dobrý. Že to nebudeš mít hnedka, musíš si je najít.
We're going to release, it's over 20 powers. For the season, and
přes 20 sil. Ukážou nám 4. Poison Frog. Wow. OK. Vyvoláš si žábu, která bojuje s tebou.
As its name implies, it will poison your enemies
Okay.
you know, if it runs out of health, it's going to explode viciously.
Když umře, tak vybouchne.
Folks are having a lot of fun with this one. Next up is Doom Orb. So Doom Orb is a pure orb of eldritch energy that circles around you.
Kolem tebe cirkuluje, dává ohnivý damage.
And it can also launch itself at distant enemies before returning.
Zabití nebo damage do bossů to posiluje. O 5%, po 100% to zase dá nějaký větší damage. Každých 15 vteřin se zase objeví nějaký summon na 10 vteřin. Aha, tankuje tvoje damage a potom dá zase nějaký poškození do okolních nepřátel. Piranhádo, jako pirání tornádo. OK.
And so if you cast a hex and an aura at the same time and inflict it upon an enemy,
to se aktivuje jinýma těma věcma, když vykástíš hex a auru, tak se vytornáduje tady to tornádo. Všechno to do sebe vtahuje a dává to spoustu damage. Dobrý. Vyčku mě, jo, myslím, že jo, něco takového. Víš, doktor síly, jo. Nový aktivity, pojď.
And so these come in the form of headhunts.
Headhunts, lovení monster.
A whisper-driven activity.
Aha, jo.
Is searching for these head rotten.
Hledání jakoby monster, který jsou jakoby cíle. Ty budeš hledat, chápeš, jak se tomu říká, prostě bounty hunting.
So you're gonna follow the whispers in order to, you know, find the headhunts.
Vezmeš si Whisperu a budeš prostě to plnit. Jsou tady přímo subzóny, podobně jako Helltidy. A Headhunt představuje jako Whispery, který v těch zónách už jako i byly, ale i nějaký nový. Nějaký aktivity prostě, co můžeš dělat do strobu.
Now, completing Whispers has a chance of spawning a head rotten boss.
Dokončení Whisperu má šanci spawnout head rotten bosse. A to ti dá nějaký další odměny. Doručení pozhedky do tří umožňuje hráčům získat okultní gemy. Okultní gemy. OK, pojďme. Speciální sokety, které mají unikátní efekty, který ti vytuní buildy. OK, můžou být jenom ve špercích. Že to je jak malignantní srdce, trochu. Jo, to je jak malignantní srdce. Za season 1, nebo kde to bylo. Jsou jenom na sezónu, tuhle. A zmizí potom v Eternalu po konci season. Pojďme se podívat.
So each occult gem has built-in defense. We don't want you to have to make a choice between, you know,
tvoje Agility, Corpse, Incarnate Mastery, Weapon Mastery a Vrat skilly udělou 25 zvýšený direct damage do prokletých nepřátel přes ty nový síly. Pokud máš 3 nebo více Eldritch Witch Powers socketnutý, tak dostaneš 25% movement speedu a 15% critical strike chance. Za každý auru a hexy na nepříteli, který jsou aflikováni, dostaneš 4% zvýšený damage. Nic moc. Čekal jsem nějakou super sílu, ale tohle je jenom jakoby boostování statu. To ti jenom boostuje staty. To není moc zajímavé, jak říkali. Jako to je jasný, že vykrádají Diablo 3. To je jejich cílovka, že jo? Hlavně.
And then finally we've got Dostojí. This is a legendary one, so it's going to be even more powerful than the other two I talked about. This is going to boost when you use hex and aura and afflict other enemies with those. So each time you do that, not only do you have a chance to proc that Piranhado I talked about before, but you're going to increase the damage that you output per affliction. So you can kind of get a sense that the occult gems are providing you even more incentives for, you know, creating a certain type of build. And, you know, we are just really excited to see what kind of combinations y'all come up with. I think, yeah, it's going to be pretty exciting. So, final thing. is, you know, we were doing a lot with the Tree of Whispers. We've got the witches around.
Updateovali město kolem Tree of Whisperu.
So we thought, well, we should, you know,
přidali
take
tam
some of the
nějakého
quality
havrana.
of life feedback we've heard from players and try and address it. So the first thing we've done is we've updated the town around the Tree of Whispers.
Přidali one-handed
We added
zbraně.
some more services to it because we expect you to be returning to it a lot more this season. And we've changed the layout a little bit to make it a little more convenient to navigate and move the waypoint so that it's just quicker to get to the Tree of Whispers to turn in things. But sometimes, you know, you're in the middle of a headhunt we found and you're getting a lot of grim favor, but you don't want to leave. You want to try and go fight the boss that you just summoned, right? So we've also implemented what we call the Raven of the Tree. And the Raven of the Tree appears in every headhunt zone. And that allows you to turn in your grim favor on the spot.
Ti na tom místě dovolí vrátit tvoje Tree of Whispers, aby ses nemusel teleportovat. Takže nemusíš jít ke stromu, protože v každé zóně toho čarodějnického toho budou tyhle ty havrani.
When you're in a flow, you can go to the Raven of the Tree, get your cash, and then keep fighting.
Jako zajímavý.
Finally, we felt like we wanted to expand the rewards a little bit more for the Tree of Whispers, so we've added ancestral caches. It's a pretty low probability of getting one, but they're there. And these guarantee you getting an ancestral item from a cache. So obviously you see this pop up. I have a feeling you're probably going to select
Jo,
it.
ancestrální kešky budou. Že budeš mít občas šanci na kešku s hvězdičkama.
For the upcoming PTR. So I'll kick it back over to you, Adam.
Awesome, thank you so much,
Dan. I'm
talking about a ton of new stuff coming for patch 2.1 PTR and of course season 7. I'm super excited for all the Tree of Whisper updates. I know a lot of people in chat are, especially with the Raven, not having to go back to the Tree of Whispers every single time, being able to turn in grim favors right there through the Raven. On top of that, also just the rework of the zone, so everything's a little bit closer. You don't have to walk all the way across to walk all the way back to the waypoint or to get to the vendors and everything. So there's a lot of big changes with that. And please do choose the ancestral cache.
Vidím to zhruba takhle.
And I think it's important to remember we added the ability to favor.
Vidím to takhle.
Yes, as part of season 6 or of the last patch that we did. So it's super helpful with that witch town.
Yeah, most definitely. And of course, you know, people have been seeing some of the new witchcraft powers and noticing some familiarities of like past Diablo lore. And I will say we'll be talking more about the story of season 7 as we get closer to launch, so players can hear more about kind of like the origins of all of like what we've been kind of talking about here with this story with Diablo 4. So thank you again, Dan, for walking us through all the content that's coming with season 7. And of course, last but not least, we do want to talk about some big quality of life changes. One really big
quality
one
of
that
life
really
changes.
To talk about it. And Mr. Colin
Quality
Feiner
of life
and walk us through everything.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. So most of these are sort of systemic updates. So I'll
Paragon migrace,
Paragon migration,
unique power role update, ancestral itemy.
System works. All of the Paragon experience that you've earned in a season is actually at the end of season 6 going to be added to your Eternal Realm Paragon. So what that means is, you know, if you're Paragon level 230 on a season, all of that 230 worth of experience is going to get added to your Eternal.
Takže se budou sčítat zkušenosti z Paragonu, který jste získali do Eternalu. Takže si prostě ze sezóny ti přijde 300 level Paragon, tak se ti přičtou ty XPčka do Eternalu, abys to tam měl vybustěný.
Paragon level 300, you can actually earn that on Eternal. So if you're not willing to sort of put in hundreds of hours to get that in a season, you can work your way there on the Eternal Realm as you sort of cash in these seasons. So we think
Přesuň chat, prosím.
It's going to be really nice as you're like playing through multiple seasonal characters, and then eventually you'll end up just getting enough XP to actually earn those rewards at level 300 Paragon. So that's actually, it's not like I have to have it in this season or something like that. You know, you probably end up getting it in a couple seasons if you play pretty extensively and you level up your Paragon.
Yeah, definitely. The second one here is now we are essentially tying the unique power. So if you think about like the Fists of Fate, damage roll from 1 to 200, that's going to be tied. The floor is going to be tied to the amount of greater affixes.
Máš pravdu, Martin, máš
If
pravdu.
you have one greater affix, the floor is going to go up a little bit from the 1%.
Ale Marťo.
When you get 4 greater affixes, it's going to go up quite a bit. It's not exactly perfect because we wanted to maintain the sort of specialness of a 4GA with a perfect
12 minut.
We've seen some of
11.
those on Reddit, and I think it's always such a cool
Ah,
to sort of see this
Stalker.
drop. But it's going to be a
Konečně
substantial
bude
increase to
RPG.
the power of the floor. So it's going to be nearly impossible to get a 4GA with a really crappy.
Těším se taky.
It's always great getting a 4GA and then
rolling
one person.
Abyste se nepředěšili.
Yeah.
Já myslím, že i kdyby ukázali jenom první lokaci, tak už budeme docela přetěšený, no.
That wasn't a moment we felt was really enticing, so we wanted to make sure that the more GAs you get, just the better the item is, comprehensively, just better.
Yeah, absolutely.
Čím víc hvězdiček, tím lepší budeš mít aspect roll, takže čím víc hvězda, tím potom je větší ten aspect roll, aby se jakoby měl automaticky třeba nejlepší aspekt roll a měl hnedka ten aspekt.
In season 6 we added 5 more ranks to compensate.
A unique power roll update taky.
Rank 21 is usually where they end up landing. Now ancestral items, when they drop, they're going to be at the top end of that. So you should always be pretty excited when an ancestral drops because it's always.
A základní drop ancestrálek zvýšen. Jupi, už jich zase bude padat hodně.
Yeah, we saw lots of conspiracy theories on Reddit. People going like,
tak se přegranduju na druhý svět? No kamaráde, až budu hrát po 2, tak to bude žůžola bůžo. To mě žena ani neuvidí. Měsíc v kuse. V prosinci mám 9 dní dovolené. Víš, co to je, kámo? Vechýsku, děkuju, kámo. Když podušku tím víc Adidas.
That most definitely will address a lot of the confusion there, as well as just make it better for players overall.
To není málo, ale letošní prosinec je super. Tam, když máš 8 dní dovolenou mezi Vánocema a Novým rokem, tak jsi doma třeba 2,5 týdnu, nebo takový úplně jako strašně dlouho. Vítáš má? Nic jsem neviděl, co jsi posílal. Pošli to znova. Já to nemám zaplý teď, sorry. Já jenom, co stihnu přečíst u sebe. OBSku. Já tady koukám na ten stream tady, víš.
And then the next one.
High radius and movement speed for pets.
Were dropping a little too frequently, constantly getting stuck on the ground, and players were capped on them. So we are doing a pass.
Game fragment konverze.
But to compensate, we're actually adding a sync for them. So you're going to be able to take gem fragments and craft random legendary amulets and random legendary rings. Those all help.
Můžeš vykraftit s game fragmentama náhodný unique itemy, teda legendární itemy, a klást quest updaty. Rewardy se unlocknou na určitém levelu, class questy můžou být pořád dokončeny.
They are going to work similar to Altars of Lilith, right?
Budou fungovat podobně jako Altars of Lilith.
Most classes, or every class has this special mechanic. So like on Sorceress, you've got your enchantment slots. And in the past, when you hit level 15, you'd get a quest where you had to go and help out
a já budu snad stíhat oboje, doufám. Boje a Stalkera.
Already completed that. You are going to, if you
Já jsem myslel, že pojede ovšem. Zatím jedel dneska, ale nikdy nevíš.
Any subsequent sorceress that you make, once you hit level 15, you're going to immediately unlock that first enchantment slot.
Jo.
And then once you hit level 30, you'll unlock the second one.
Jakmile si to odemčeš na jedné sortce, tak všechny ostatní sorcky na tom účtu budou mít odemčený class quest.
But for those of you who really enjoyed doing those quests, there will be a
takže to nemusíš dělat už potom znova ty questy.
But you're going to get that mechanic right off the bat.
That's awesome. And you could still just log into your season character and do it to unlock
něco zajímavého ještě. 7 minut.
Require you to log into your eternal character to get this. Cool.
7 minut, boys.
Check the time, like,
Armory!
Probably go do my class quest.
Ty vole, oni už to tam přepnuli. Oni už to tam přepnuli, dělej.
For a little longer than I would like to admit.
Konečně aspoň něco.
Production spoiled it. As they raise their hands up in the air.
Armory!
Update is obviously a big one, which is finally we don't have to say this is in development still.
Armory.
Možnost ukládat a načítat a pojmenovat oblíbené buildy. Armor loadouty sloty jsou charakter boundnutý, měnění mezi loadoutama, slotama a různýma paragonama. Nestojí goldy. Armory může být zpřístupněna skrze Sanctuary, Citadelu, Tree of Whispers a Training Areas. Takže si můžeš prostě kdekoliv vypnout, to jakoby přepnout, jo, teda v podstatě. Ve světě, v Citadele, Tree of Whispers. Budeš mít takhle jakoby oltářek a přepneš si všechno, co máš. Doufám, že to nebudu muset nosit v inventáři kvůli tomu. Doufám, že to bude z bedny. To je zlepšení, ano. Ano, to je zlepšení. To je dobrý. Vedle trefe, děkuju. Já už nás na Twitchi přepnu na Path of Exile radši, jo, boys.
No, because we're just saving the equipment, right?
Yeah.
So you'll want to know if you're going to modify this item that it would affect anything.
Yeah, if you take a legendary and say change the imprinted aspect on it, you know, it's still part of that build, so it might not be the right one.
Na Twitchi už jsem Path of Exile kategorii, stačí si refreshnout stream F5 a měli byste být za 6 minut schopný získávat ty skiny, jo? Musíte být na Twitchi, na YouTube to nefunguje. Twitch.tv/ Viktor Brenek, bez diakritiky, bez mezer.
And it's important to note that we will swap it from anywhere, so if the equipment is in your stash, or if it's in your inventory, you don't have to worry about it, we'll just swap it out for you.
Prej nemusíte dávat pozor, jestli to je v inventáři nebo ve steši, že to prej za vás přehážou. Takže to dáš do inventáře, ono to vytáhne z inventáře. Dáš si to do bedny, vytáhne to z bedny. Takže to je dobrý. To je dobře udělané. 200 000 diváků na Path of Exile 2? Wow. To máš hlavní kanál YouTube. Na Twitchi je to super, ale nesledují mě tam lidi zatím. Karmíku, děkuji ti za follow. I když dneska je vás tady jako mega moc, což cením. Díky.
So want to make sure that players
děkuji ti.
Opportunity to actually test it during PTR. Give us feedback. It's something that we're going to continuously iterate. One thing I do want to call out is in PTR, it won't have controller support. It will have controller support when we do launch it with patch 2.1.
Vítej.
But for the PTR, it won't actually be, there won't be
vlastní ložiště, v tom není bordel. Mělo by to mít vlastní ložiště, no. Já jsem všude, nice. Jak to refresh na telefonu? Asi bych to swipenul dolů, podržel, až se nahoře objeví kolečko, anebo bych zadal znovu adresu. Nebo to možná apelkuje samo, nevím. 176 na YouTube? Wow, 1000, jo?
And of course our new gems, the old gems. So we want players to actually jump in and try those out, and with all the quality of life fixes that we do. So I know we do want to jump into Q&A before PTR updates. I forgot. Sorry, I forgot about PTR updates. I can't even follow my own agenda that's like sitting here on a piece of paper, Adam. But we do actually have some PTR updates really quickly that I do want to talk about because as you guys remember, the prior PTRs, we did character copies before, or account copies from your main accounts. Things are going to be a little different for patch 2.1. This is way better for players. If you guys remember back with even the patch 2.0 PTR, we actually did an account copy and it was like weeks and weeks in advance and people were like, whoa, this is like my barb from like, you know, it feels like yesteryear or something like that. Now we are giving the flexibility of players being able to account copy on demand, essentially, for PTR. So with patch 2.1 PTR,
Path of Exile ještě neběží, chat. Chill.
Where you'll be able to actually
Chill.
account copy over to your PTR account. So it'll take all your characters from your normal account and move them over.
Tak, budete si moct skopírovat charaktery na PTR-ko. Bingo armory, mám ho tam. Mám tam bingo.
and like your main
Lord boss nebyl, Tormented boss nebyl, generický dungeon nebyl zatím, PvP nebylo, clan aktivity nebyly, one click prodávání nebylo.
When you do that. If you also utilize let's say you don't actually utilize the account copy over and you actually use the account boost or the character boost that we actually have in PTR, just note that if you do account copy over afterwards, it will also replace those. Yeah. So just be careful with that. We'll make sure to note that all in the blog so players are aware. But it is just a caveat that we do want to mention for players, but it does allow for way more flexibility. Not even death can save you from me. There we go. But new additions for the boosts and that we have for PTR. Obviously, we'll end up having the
jdeme na povečko.
The character boost that will be available in Season 7 PTR. We'll have, Witchcraft.
Myslím, že už tam nic nebude chat, už je to jenom o tom, jak si boostnout charakter, což všichni dobře víme, známe. Zítra udělám souhrnný video, kde to budu dávat do nějakého přehledu. Já to přepínám, přátelé, na Twitch a jdeme sakra pes, jdeme na Path of Exile 2. Kdo je tady ready, chat? Chci vidět ty velký hypy v chatu, pojďme na to, pořádně to tady, pojďme nahypovat, ať se jim to podaří borcům. Kdo se těší do chatu? Kdo je ready, kdo je připravený? Hype, musí se to podařit, tohleto je konečně ta hra, kterou chceme. Já doufám, že jo, pojďme na to. 17 vteřin, já chci vidět ten release. Let's go! Budeme mít guildu na Discordu, takže vykřičník Discord, přidejte se na YouTube, guidy, všechno bude. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Sir, just what are we facing here? A relic of the old world. Not even death ready your men, Captain. From me. You will only get one chance.
Co se děje? Co to je? Proč to nejde?
Not even death can save you from me.
Kámo, ten Twitch to nestíhá. Co se děje tomu Twitchi?
Not even death can save you from me.
Shut your damn mouth. Why do I always get stuck with these rookies?
Hey, not even death can save you from me.
To nevysílej na YouTube. Přejede.
A mean cleave, eh, Captain? Rookie can't even lift his own sword. Captain Oren? Captain?
Zas pomalu, no, je tam asi 200 000 lidí, no. Možná víc.
It's here. Rain, send the signal!
What the fuck?
Rain! On my back, blade up!
Borečku, refreshni si to.
Come on! I'm ready! I'm ready!
Jsem přeplay na Path of Exile. Jsem přeplay na Path of... A nemají to moc nahlas. Video je super, no. Mega super. Máte to dobře na hlas, je to v pohodě?
On your feet, lad.
Sir, the captain,
You'll be fine. Here.
Ty kráso, ten ho podělal.
What is it?
Get the body. Stop. Mortal. It can still be.
Já jsem to neslomil.
You don't know what you have on. Your kind no longer control this world. We cannot destroy your body, it's true. But you will watch as we destroy everything you have built. Bind him!
Okay. Dobrý.
Feed. Grow, my child. I'll make sure you can eat your fill.
Zombie kouřil. Mega dobrý trailer. Wow. To si musíme pustit ještě pak jednou v klidu, ale jako mega dobrý.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Rogers, Game Director on Path of Exile 2. Now, Path of Exile 2 is going into early access in around 2 weeks on December the 6th. But even though it's early access, this isn't just some small taste. The game is huge. In this live stream, we're going to be introducing everything you can expect. So without further ado, let's roll the gameplay trailer.
6. prosince a je to tady masivní.
Beauty. Precious, but impermanent. Life and death are mortal enemies, and yet bound to one another. The continuation of life must be protected at all costs.
Kráso.
Some have said my methods are brutal.
Aztécký kultury obětování.
There can be no salvation without sacrifice.
To bude strašně dobrý.
We are faced with the end, and I will do what I must.
Wow. To vypadá jako endgame. Tohle bude nějaký atlas, možná novej nebo něco. Hele, sukuba, navičku, transformace. Plamenomet na mercenariho možná.
Those who obsess with death, let them soon be acquainted with it.
Oh my god.
Now, as you just saw, even in early access, Path of Exile 2 is a big game. It's actually been 5 years since we announced PoE 2. Over that time, we've revealed a lot, but it's been in bits and pieces. It's pretty hard to keep track of it all, so today we're going to do a full rundown of all the content that will be available at the start of early access. Classes, character progression systems, and for the first time, a full overview of the end game. This is going to be a big one, so get comfortable. For 20 years, Rayclast has been free from any sources of corruption, but the Count of Ogham, tempted by promises of power, intends to harness it once more. The dead are rising, monsters are mutating, and madness is spreading. Under the dark influence of corruption, the Count doles out sentences of death to any who would question him.
Děkuju. Já vypnu u těch alertů zvuky, jo, ať nás nerušej. Všechno budu překládat, jasně, nebojte. Nevím, jako teďka nebudu moc kesat do těch ukázek, jo, ale...
And this is where you find yourself at the start of PoE 2. Explore the dark forests of Ogham. Traverse the barren plains of the West.
Ne.
Into the jungle ruins of Utsal, an ancient Val city. There are challenges.
Twitchi, vole, Twitchi, co děláš?
Monsters, hidden runes, lost camps and treasures, roaming merchants,
Come
and
on,
of course, unique bosses. No two the monsters. Meet strange characters, forge unlikely bonds,
Hej, to nejede.
and uncover lost civilizations.
Já vím, ale stejně mi to sere. Už to nefunguje, jim to
But
nestíhá
first,
si
you'll need to pick a
přehrávat.
class. Now, early access will initially have 6 classes available. Let's have a look at them. The Monk is a fast and furious melee fighter. He dashes in and out of combat and has mechanics that involve building up and keeping momentum. Like all classes in PoE 2, you'll want to use a wide variety of skills to mix and match different combos.
Blizzard to dedusuje, ty vole, Blizzardy, Brácho, hej, to všichni refreshou jak já, to prostě nepojede, no.
PoE 2. You can choose an existing.
Technical difficulties, jo, není to u mě, děkuju bože, není to u mě. Když to nezvládl, no. Petrite mě, se to neseká, seká se to jim. jo, všem to jede suprově, no jasně, všichni tam mají technical difficulties, ale všem to jede, chat. Jasný. To mě vždycky tak nasede, ty vole. Řeknu, nefunguje mi Stalker a 30 lidí mi napíše. Mně to jede úplně normálně. Ani jednou mi to nespadlo. To máš špatný počítač. Moje 2 položil Twitch? No zjevně, jo. Nečekali nápor. No jako Twitch to není, že jo, Path of Exilem, to je Twitchem. Prostě Twitch nestíhá serverem. Twitch prostě nestíhá server posílat ty data. To je úplně jednoduchý. Tady máte prostě 180 000 lidí, že jo. 180 000 lidí jenom na tomhletom jednom streamu. Což pravděpodobně tady bude dalších 100 000 prostě u dalších x milionů lidí. Jo. To prostě nestíhá ten Twitch. 345 000 diváků. No. Živě. To není video, to je živě. To vyžaduje extrémní množství dat prostě. Kde jsem? Jsem tady. 190. Dobrý, jsem druhý největší Čech? Nádhera. Let's go. Let's go, děkuju všem, co tady jste. Peneo, vítej. Pojďte všetci tu. Už.
Precious. Those who
power intends to harness. There are 21 active skills for quarterstaves, so this just scratches the surface of the options that you have. By endgame, you'll be dashing from pack to pack, spewing where you find yourself at the start of PoE 2. Explore the dark forests of Ogham. Traverse the barren plains of the Vasteri Desert, and delve into the jungle ruins of Utsal, an ancient Val city. There are challenging monsters, hidden runes, lost camps and treasures, roaming merchants, and of course, unique bosses.
Roaming merchants, chodící merchanti.
It falls to you to track down the seed of corruption, the source of all this devastation. On the way, you'll face fearsome monsters, meet strange characters, forge unlikely bonds, and uncover lost civilizations. But first, you'll need to pick a class.
Classy.
Now, early access will initially have 6 classes available. Let's have a look at them. The Monk is a fast and furious melee fighter. He dashes in and out of combat and has mechanics that involve building up and keeping momentum. Like all classes in PoE 2, you'll want to use a wide variety of skills to mix and match different combos. To get new skills, you will first need to find skill gems. Using a skill gem will open the gem cutting menu, which shows all the active skills available in PoE 2. You can choose an existing skill to level up, or choose to engrave a new one. Since this is a level 7 skill gem, even if you pick a new skill, it will immediately be level 7, so there's no harm in trying out something new.
A když už máš, jasně, když už to máš vylevelný, tak automaticky katuješ větší level.
Martial arts: lightning, ice,
elementy.
But don't think you have to stick to just one. The best combos are going to involve mixing elements of all 3. Let's try Killing Palm. Like many monk skills, this can be used to quickly take advantage of a specific situation. If there's an enemy on low life, you can use Killing Palm to dash to them and kill them instantly. This will provide a power charge. Then we can use a different skill to consume that power charge for a much more devastating attack. The Monk also has powerful combo skills. Tempest Bell, for example, is a skill that places a giant resonating bell. Hitting the bell causes it to ring, dealing damage to all enemies around it. You can also do things like freeze or shock the bell, which will add elemental damage to the strikes. The Monk also has a variety of abilities to empower his staff. If an enemy is close to being stunned, you can use Staggering Palm to punch them down. After that, any attack you do will shoot out wind projectiles. There are 21 active skills for quarterstaves, so this just scratches the surface of the options that you have.
Skillů pro
oboruční hole. Dashing from pack to pack, spewing projectiles and obliterating strings of enemies with huge combo attacks. Now, if you like a style of melee that's a little slower but hits much harder, then the Warrior is for you. He pounds the ground with big chunky attacks and can shrug off hits of small enemies with large amounts of armor. Even though the mace slams are slow, you never lose control. Longer attacks can be retargeted as you go, and if you find yourself committed to a long attack, you can dodge roll out of it at any time.
Přerušování útoku pomocí dodge rollu.
Among the skill option for maces, you will find a variety of slams, fire attacks, war cries, and shield skills. Here, I'm going to slam the ground, rending it apart with lines of fire. Any slam skill will then cause these fissures to erupt with lava. I can even run through them with a skill like
Stampede, pak když do toho skočí, tak to reaktivuje. Jsou ty komba jakoby.
The Warrior can also use war cries, which can empower your next skill. Seismic Cry, for example, will double any slams from your next attack. The Stampede counts as a slam, so I can double that for even more craziness. If you want to go a little faster and be a little more defensive, equip a shield. In PoE 2, you can raise your shield at any time to block all damage from the front, even spells. While holding up your shield, your stun meter will build as you take damage, so be careful. If it reaches 100%, your stance will break and you will be vulnerable. Some enemies also have unblockable attacks, which are indicated by this red flash. If you see one of these coming,
když takhle zčervená ten boss, tak ho nemůžeš bloknout štítem.
Using a shield also gives you access to shield skills, like Shield Charge, which allows you to charge towards enemies and stun them. While charging, you're also blocking the whole time, so you have full damage immunity from the front. The Warrior also has access to totems. Some totems have built-in abilities, like Shockwave Totem, which can be placed to stun nearby enemies and trigger aftershocks like those from the Earthquake. But you can also get Ancestral Warrior Totems, which allow you to use any slam skill in your repertoire. This is a meta skill, which means that it's a skill you can put other skills into. I can take a slam like Sunder and socket it into my Ancestral Warrior Totem. Now when I summon him, he'll sit there and slam the monsters from a distance.
Kombinování skillů a support gameu, jak to známe,
There
dobrý.
are 20 active skills for maces, so there's a lot more to try out. But by endgame, you're going to be dropping hammers from the sky, leaping fearlessly into combat, and separating the very earth you stand on.
To ten vypadá tak dobře, ten Warrior.
Time for some ranged attacks. The Ranger is primarily about the bow, but we wanted to make sure that she feels agile as well. In PoE 2, you can shoot while moving. Combined with all the skills the Ranger has that allow you to jump around, you'll have a lot of mobility in combat.
Hodně mobilní.
Bow skills have a variety of lightning, poison, ice, and physical attacks.
Lightning, poison, lead
bounce around between
a fyzický útok.
You can also stick lightning arrows in the ground which explode when hit by the bouncers, or electrocute enemies to take them out of combat. Ice attacks allow you to slow and freeze enemies to keep them away from you. Using poison, not only can you slowly damage your enemies from afar, but also grow some interesting plants.
Tady týpek propojuje ty monstra kytkama, co rostou, a pak je může bleskovat.
Combo tools the ranger has, you can take advantage of every situation. By endgame, you'll be creating hundreds of arrows, be they falling from the sky, bouncing around between enemies, or spraying out of tornadoes. You might have noticed in the bottom left of the screen that the flask slots look a little different. In PoE 2, you have one dedicated life flask slot and one mana flask slot. Flasks gain charges as you kill enemies, and typically allow you to heal 6 or 7 times if they're full. But that's not the only thing you can use charges for. Charms are a new item type that will automatically defend you from various debuffs or damage types. Having trouble with getting frozen? Equip a Thawing charm. When it's fully charged, it will make you immune to freeze for 3 seconds if you get frozen. To recharge them, just kill more monsters. You can gain more slots for charms by upgrading your belt. The mercenary wields a crossbow that can be loaded with different ammo types, offering versatility, power, and mobility. All classes in Path of Exile 2 can be controlled with WASD, which makes this class play exactly like a shooter. For the crossbow, you will find skills that work like shotguns, sniper rifles, assault rifles, and even grenade launchers. But not only that, there are a wide variety of more interesting elemental ammos too. It's very fast to switch between ammo types, so long as you already have them loaded, which makes the mercenary able to combo abilities together with devastating effect. Use Glacial Bolt to create walls of ice to separate enemies, then switch to fragmentation rounds to explode the ice, dealing massive AoE damage. If I come across an armored enemy, I could use armor piercing rounds to break their armor, and then high velocity rounds to take them down. Or perhaps I could fire a gas grenade to poison enemies before detonating the cloud with an explosive shot for massive damage. If you want to call in some suppressing fire, you can summon artillery ballistas. These have a minimum range, so you'll want to prepare your position carefully before moving in. There are 22 active skills for crossbows. By endgame, you'll be calling destruction down from the sky as you litter the battlefield with grenades and pepper your enemies with your automatic shotgun. If you're looking to take a backseat and let your minions do the work, then the witch should be your choice. She can call forth hordes of undead monsters to fight for her while casting powerful chaos spells that debilitate her enemies. Occult skills are some of the most varied in the game, with skeletons, noxious spells, specialty minions, curses, and sacrificial magic. Before we talk about minions, we'll have to talk about a new resource in Path of Exile 2 called Spirit. This is a spirit gem, which allows you to pick from a range of persistent skills. All classes have a variety of these skills which can add some very interesting effects, like Arctic Armor, which does cold damage to enemies that hit you, or Raging Spirits, which summon fiery skulls each time you cast a fire spell. For the Witch, though, we'll want to be using our spirit to create permanent minions. These minions will be revived automatically when they die, so you don't have to worry about resummoning them all the time. Here, I'm using the skill screen to allocate which minions I would like in my horde. You can see the spirit cost of each one. Skeletal warriors are cheap,
Tady si dává ten spirit, tu novou energii, na vyvolávání těch minionů. A může jich vyvolat víc, ale stojí ho to víc toho spiritu. Jo.
Permanent minions come with special active abilities called command skills. You can order these guys to detonate your own minions for even more damage and area of effect. If you want a bigger army, you'll need a scepter. This new weapon type is imbued with even more spirit, allowing you to summon even more friends. And if you want an even bigger army than that, you can take advantage of corpses to summon true hordes of minions. But what can a witch do while her army is at work? Well, she has a range of chaos spells to spread disease amongst your enemies, or bone skills to impale them. Or, you know, you could curse them to make them weaker so your horde can take them down. There are 25 active occult skills. By the endgame, you will be the leader of a fearsome army of the dead, consuming everything in its path. The sorceress bends the elements to her will, using them to unleash devastation on her foes. This classic spellcaster weaves a flurry of elemental magic from afar. The elemental skills have everything you might expect and more. Fireballs, icy explosions, lightning storms, you get the idea. Each spell is unique and has many different ways to build and combo with others, even between different elements. For example, Flame Wall conjures a burning line that not only damages enemies, also empowers all projectiles that pass through it. If you place a wall and fire lightning sparks through
Jak posílá ty spárky skrz ten firewall, tak se nabili ohněm.
It's a good idea to take advantage of the ability to automatically swap weapons when you use certain skills. Having a special staff with bonuses to fire skills and another with bonuses to lightning skills can really power up a combo like this.
Můžeš přepínat zbraně a oni si dávají buffy a přepínají se jim bonusy.
You could grab the Cast and Ignite gem and use it with Firestorm. As you ignite enemies, a counter will go up in the top left corner. When it's full, a Firestorm will automatically be cast at the enemy that was ignited. There are 25 active elemental skills. By endgame, you'll be firing off projectiles left and right as you rain down elemental storms on your foes. Now, those are the characters that will be available at the start of Early Access, but we will be adding 6 more character classes with just as many skills and options as these. There's a lot more to come.
Tohle je jenom jakoby ukázka, bude ještě 6 dalších klas na konci
Early Access. Belong to each class, in reality there are no restrictions. You can use all these skills on any class, so long
můžeš
as you have
používat
the
všechny skilly na všech postavách.
For example,
to jenom jakoby takhle doporučuju. A samozřejmě podle zbraně máš některý limitovaný.
Or a monk might want to trigger elemental ice walls to use with his glacial cascade combo. The possibilities for cross-class combos are practically unlimited. We're looking forward to what kind of things you guys might find. Now, Path of Exile is a game known for build customization.
OK, teďka tady dal ten mankův ten, buben a střílí do něj.
So let's talk about support gems.
Support gemy.
Path of Exile 2 has a system of support gems that can be combined with your active skills to dramatically change the way they work. If you find a support gem, then right-clicking it will open up this screen. Here you will find a variety of recommended support gems for each of your skills that you can pick between.
Máš doporučený, ale můžeš používat zase všechny, který máš.
Can be used to add multiple projectiles to any skill.
Který to podporujou.
Normally, when you fire a grenade, it'll look like this. But if we add multiple projectiles, then you get 3 of them. Once you have the gem, you can also freely move it between any of the skills on your character. If you want to have a multi-shot sniper rifle instead, then simply move the gem over to your high-velocity round skill. Generally speaking, if it sounds like a support gem should work with a skill, then it will work. So it's a good idea to experiment.
Pokud to zní, že by support gem měl fungovat s gemem, tak bude fungovat.
So you'll want to think carefully about which supports can be used best with each skill for maximum damage. Now, if you want to stick to the recommendations, you should have a perfectly good time. But if you want to experiment a bit more,
teď vypne recommendation. Co můžeš dát všechno do těch skillů? Ten skill můžeš vyměnit jako různě. Měnit stovkama kombinací.
Each skill can have up to 5 supports socketed into it.
Každý skill může mít až 5 těchto support gemů.
Now all of this is just scratching the surface. You can make frost vortexes, break people's armor, make minions explode, make skills repeat.
Můžeš udělat všechno, co chceš ze skillů.
Set each other on fire, cull enemies or pin them to the ground. Supports let you drastically change the behavior of your skills and create your own unique build, or at least follow someone's OP build guide. So, speaking of builds, let's talk about one of the most iconic Path of Exile systems, the passive skill tree. Yes, it's huge. There are over 1,500 nodes on there. Now, a lot of people open the tree and can get a little intimidated at first, but try not to be scared. There are lots of options, but at its core, it's pretty simple. Each level you get 1 point to put into the tree. Each class starts at a different location, but they all share the same tree. Around your section of the tree, you'll find relevant bonuses for your character. You should be safe in the knowledge that there aren't many wrong choices here. Almost all the starting nodes will be useful for your character in some way. But if you do happen to make a choice you regret, you'll be able to respec any nodes you've taken by spending a little bit of gold.
Za goldy můžete refundovat oproti Path of Exile 1.
Now, the tree is generally divided up into clusters which have similar themes. In each cluster you will find small nodes that give simple bonuses like increased damage, but the real power comes from notables. Notables normally have much more interesting bonuses, and they tend to care a lot more about how your build works and what skills you're using. For example, in the mercenary area of the tree, this one gives a 25% chance for crossbow skills to not consume a bolt.
šanci, že crossbow ataky neskonzumují bolt, takže kuše budou mít normálně náboje, jak Diablo 2.
Gives a chance for projectiles to rebound off terrain,
nebo
as well as giving you some pierce chance to make that more likely. Note that even though this is in the mercenary section, this would work with projectiles from all classes, so there are often reasons to go to different areas of the tree.
Funguje to pro všechny klasy, říká, takže chápeš. Budeš třeba warrior, ale budeš mít nějaký projektily, tak ti to bude fungovat.
So it's very easy to get points for any attribute that your gear might need. You can change which attribute these nodes give you for half price at the respec vendor. In addition to notables, you will also find even larger passives called keystones. Keystones have both an upside and a downside, and often require changing your entire build to design around them. A great example is Giant's Blood, which allows you to wield two-hand weapons in a single hand.
Wow.
Doubles the attribute requirements.
Můžeš nosit obou ručky v jedné ruce.
You can use a two-hand mace with a shield, or even dual wield them.
To je hustý. Máš moje pasivku, co ti umožní nosit obou ručky jako jednoručky. V obou rukách.
But you lose 50% of your mana regen. Skills like these can be tough to build around, but if you're up for the challenge, they can be very rewarding.
Vždycky ti dá něco dobrýho, ale něco ti zaberou, to je jasný, to je jak jedničce.
Earlier on the sorceress, you can swap between weapon sets on the fly as you use certain skills. One of the new features in Path of Exile 2's passive tree is that you can choose to have your passive tree change as you switch between weapon sets to take advantage of specific bonuses on the tree.
S každou zbraní máš jiný skill tree, jak kdyby. A když přehazuješ zbraně, tak se ti aktivuje půlka, pak druhá půlka.
Or you could switch between one hand and a two-hand setup in order to be able to block boss
automaticky se ti to
while following up with heavy hits from your bigger mace.
Ty body.
Or perhaps you could have a full curse setup on your witch to debuff enemies before switching to a chaos degen build for maximum damage. If you want to stick with just one weapon set, you can just use these specialization points as bonus points to invest however you like. But creative players will find plenty of opportunities with this system.
Bonus pointy jdou využít i jakoby bonus. Nemusíš to mít na dvě zbraně.
Throughout the campaign from optional bosses and quests. For example, if I manage to defeat the Crowbell, I'll get a weapon specialization book.
Wow.
There are lots of other permanent boosts available from the campaign too.
Permanentní bonusy za zabíjení bossů.
Icons that indicate the many optional encounters you can find. Some of them have permanent character boosts, and others have powerful items.
Hustý. Takže tím, jak porážíš bossy, tak dostáváš permanentní bonusy do charakteru.
See what you can find. For example, if you defeat Blackjaw the Remnant, you'll gain a permanent increase to fire resistance.
Permanentní increase do fire resistu.
You can find the first one here in the canopy in Act 1. Defeat the boss in this area to acquire a permanent addition of Spirit. The permanent buffs you gain from Spirit are very powerful, and every class will find a use for them. So make sure you hunt down these upgrades. There's one in each act. Now we haven't even talked about the most important element of character progression, items. That's why we're all here, right? Items in Path of Exile can be broken down into 4 rarity groups: normal, magic, rare, and unique. One of the things you're going to want to do as you play through the campaign is upgrade the items you find, and you can do that with currency items. An Orb of Transmutation will allow you to upgrade a normal item to a magic item with one mod. You can then apply an Orb of Augmentation to add a second mod, then use a Regal Orb to add a third mod, and upgrade it to a rare. Finally, you can use some Exalted Orbs to add more mods to your rare to a total of 6 mods. One of the things we think is really important is to make these options available to use as you play. All the items that add mods are much more common than they were in Path of Exile 1, so that you can use them throughout your campaign playthrough. We want you to find things on the ground that can be crafted into upgrades much more frequently.
So abyste víc craftili, když najdete věci na zemi.
Items much more common, you can also get them by disenchanting unwanted gear at the magic item vendor. If you disenchant magic items, you can build up to an Orb of Transmutation, and by disenchanting rares, you can build up to Regal Orbs. Another important area of crafting items in PoE 2 is sockets. Some items you find will have sockets that can have Ezomite runes placed in them that add more mods to the item. If I insert this glacial rune into my helmet, it will give extra cold resistance.
Oni tam dali prostě runy z Diabla 2. Já to říkal.
If you find socketed items that you don't have use for, you can take them to the salvage bench in town to work towards an Artificer's Orb. This will allow you to add sockets to your existing items. Body armors and two-hand weapons can have up to 2 sockets, while the rest of your armor and one-hand weapons can only have 1 socket. You can also salvage items with quality to create items like armor scraps or whetstones. These will allow you to increase the quality of your items for an up to 20% boost. If you don't want to disenchant or salvage your items, you can always sell them for gold.
Takže můžeš disenchantovat na ty orby, můžeš je salvageovat na ty věci, co ti přidávají kvalitu, anebo je můžeš prodat za goldy. Takže každý item na zemi bude mít hodnotu. Všechno, co najdeš na zemi, bude dobrý. Na začátku.
Gold is also used to respec your passive skills. Take advantage of the system to experiment with your tree and rework it as required. The other thing you might want to use gold for is the currency exchange. This allows you to exchange currency items with other players on an open market in exchange for a small gold fee.
Obchod ve vlastní základně.
Now, all items in Path of Exile are freely tradable. We never bind anything to your character except gold.
Všechno krom goldu můžeš prodávat.
Now, most gear in Path of Exile 2 is randomly generated, but there's another type that isn't. Uniques. They are especially rare, each with a handcrafted set of unusual mods which can dramatically change a character's build. They're not just better rare items, they can do much stranger things that can fundamentally change your character. Corpse Wade will make any corpses you run through explode into clouds of poison.
Wow.
The Sands of Silk is a body armor that changes your dodge roll into a blink, morphing you into sand as you teleport past your foes. And of course, some uniques are just pure hits of dopamine, like Quill Rain, which just turns your bow attacks into full auto by doubling your attack speed.
Kráso.
Each unique is something that you can build your character around. We try to make sure that most unique items have a potential use at endgame, even if you find them early on.
Kráso, tak to vypadá tak dobře.
Every single unique item comes with custom art to match.
Ty vole, ten warrior se mi tak líbí, hoši. Já budu
last character progression system that you can do during the campaign is Ascension. Starting in Act 2, you will come across Ascension trials, tests that you must complete to unlock your Ascension class. We'll explain these trials soon, but first let's take a look at what Ascending can do for your character. Each class has access to 3 Ascendancy classes.
Každá klasa má 3.
Only 2 per class will be available.
Ale na Adlexes jenom 2.
Ascendancy classes are unique to each character class, so choose wisely. They can drastically affect how you build your character. As a sorceress, you could become a Storm Weaver, a master of the elements. Tempest Caller causes elemental storms to be summoned each time you do a critical hit with a spell.
Skrytem, když dáš se spellem, tak vyvolá bouři.
Stack 2 copies of Shock for more damage. And going deeper into the tree, you can make all your damage types apply Shock. Make a Shock build from any skill. Alternatively, you could become a Chronomancer and command time itself. She literally has the ability to stop time with Time Freeze.
Tady Borka může zastavovat čas.
She has many other time manipulation abilities. Using Temporal Rift, she can teleport back to a previous location, resetting her life and mana back to what it was. Or with Time Snap, she can reset all her cooldowns and cast all her spells again.
Hey, já mám zimou mravky.
On the Warrior, you can choose between the Warbringer or the Titan. The Warbringer channels the might of his ancestors to gain tremendous power. Using Answered Call, you can summon ancestral spirits linked to each of your totems. With Jade Heritage, you can encase your body in a protective layer that absorbs all damage until it breaks. Warcaller's Bellow allows you to explode the corpses of your enemies. And with Great Wolf's Howl, you can ignore the cooldowns of your war cries. Let all that anger out. The Titan class is all about hitting big. With Earthbreaker, every slam is a chance to create an aftershock. With Crushing Impacts, every hit becomes a crushing blow, which will allow you to stun your enemies with ease. With Surprising Strength, you can take advantage of stunned enemies to deal 40% more damage. As a ranger, you might choose to be a Deadeye, an expert markswoman who can take down foes with style. With Endless Munitions, every attack gains an extra projectile. With Gathering Winds, she gains a small increase to movement speed with every attack. But be careful, she loses them when getting hit. With Eagle Eyes, she will never miss, allowing you to stop wasting all those passive points on accuracy. Alternatively, you could become a Pathfinder, the master of flasks and poison. She can choose from one of several throwable concoctions, allowing her to spend her flask charges to throw explosive bottles that deal various types of damage. A bleeding concoction will make your enemies bleed, while a fulminating one can shock your enemies, allowing you to do extra damage. Contagious Contamination allows her to spread poisons between her foes, while overwhelming toxicity doubles the number of stacks they can be infected by. Running Assault allows her to move much more quickly while firing, while Relentless Pursuit makes her totally immune to being slowed by enemies. The Witch can ascend into the Infernalist or the Blood Mage. As an infernalist, she can summon a loyal Hellhound companion. The Hellhound sets enemies on fire, as well as taking a percentage of the damage if the infernalist gets hit.
Pekelnýho psa.
With Pyromantic Pact, you can turn your mana into Infernal Flame. As
Vyměníš
you cast more
manu za
spells,
lávu,
the
jak
flame
kdyby.
builds up, and if it overflows, you'll take damage. Using Bringer
Okay.
of Flame, you'll want to make sure you keep the flames topped up. While your Infernal Flame is above 30%, all damage from you and your minions will ignite enemies. She can also transform into a literal demon.
Může se
While in
proměnit
demon
v
form, she
démona.
takes an increasing amount of damage, but her cast speed and damage increase rapidly as well.
Bere víc damage, ale
So if
dává
you're
víc
planning
damage
on
a
transforming
rychleji
into a
útočí.
demon, make sure you stack a lot of life recovery.
Musíš mít hodně
She can
životů.
also become
Bude
a
něco jak
blood
Righteous
mage,
Fire.
a master of life and energy. All blood mages must pay the price of making skills cost life as well as mana, but in exchange, every monster they kill will drop life remnants, which allow them to quickly gain back that life.
Stojí tě kouzla životy, ale
With
z
Crimson
monster
Power, she can gain
krade
large amounts
životy.
of extra life, and with Vitality Siphon, she can use her spells to leech life back as well. Once you've got a significant amount of life, you can use Gore Spike to make your critical hits deal incredible amounts of damage. A monk who is in tune with the elements might become an invoker.
Ten monk
With
vypadá taky
elemental
dobře s tím
expression, the
pláštěm.
invoker will create waves of elemental
Tohle
power
je.
each time he does a critical strike. With faith as a choice, you gain the ability to meditate, allowing you to double your energy shield. Choose between
meditovat.
I am the Blizzard or I am the
Zdvojnásobit
Thunder
energy shield.
to specialize in cold
Jsem
or light.
Blizzard. Let's go.
And I Shall Rage will allow you to turn into an unbound avatar. Each time you apply a status ailment to an enemy, you gain Unbound Fury. When you have enough, transform into an avatar to deal way more damage and inflict even more elemental ailments. Some monks choose to reach into the darkness instead. The Acolyte of Chayula can exchange their mastery of spirit for darkness, a resource that can be utilized to both absorb and deal damage. The Shroud of Darkness will protect you from all damage incoming, but if you take Grasp of the Void, you will deal extra chaos damage from all the darkness you have. Their Dark Pact offers greatly increased resistances to chaos damage and can allow their mana leech to not only happen instantly, but apply to their energy shield as well.
Mana leech se aplikuje do energy shieldu. Instantně si leechuješ manu. A ještě máš mega to
There you will
resistu.
see the flames of Chayula that can be taken to gain life, mana, and damage. The mercenary has a job to do, but which job suits you? You might choose to become a witch hunter. Obsessive Rituals will give you a sorcery ward, allowing you to defend yourself against elemental hits in exchange for less defense against attacks. With Zealous Inquisition, your enemies have a 10% chance to explode on death. The chance is doubled against demons and undead. With Judge, Jury, and Executioner, your initial hit against enemies can deal up to 30% of their life and damage, if you're lucky.
Wow,
This is great for hunting
30%
powerful
damage
bosses.
na první hit do monstra.
And with Witchbane,
8 ubereš
you can
hnedka
break your enemy's
30%.
concentration, preventing them from casting spells as often as they would usually do. You could also choose to become a Gemling Legionnaire, enhancing your abilities by embedding gems directly in your flesh. Integrated Efficiency will give you extra skill slots.
Extra
Dermatological
skill
Infusion
sloty.
gives you extra maximum
A můžeš
resistances
si
as you
doma
suck up more of your
dávat
support
gemy.
gems. Adaptive Capability allows you to use any color of gem without worrying about attributes, while Crystalline Potential adds extra quality bonuses to every gem socketed into your character.
Lepší kvalita gemy.
So those are the Ascendancy classes for the start of Early Access. But one thing we haven't talked about yet is how you ascend in the first place. Ascension in Path of Exile 2 requires completion of one of the Great Trials, which you'll find as you progress through the campaign. Each one is associated with one of the major cultures of Rayclast. Located in the Vasteri Plains are the Maraketh, a culture of rich tales and brutal traditions, who must do whatever it takes to survive in the desert. The highest position in Maraketh culture is a Sekima, and it is not a title given freely. All aspirants must complete the Trial of the Sekimas, a grueling gauntlet that will test their strength, will, cunning, and patience. To enter, a warrior of the Maraketh must prove their worth by trapping the soul of a djinn in a coin, and you are no different.
Musíte dodělat jakoby questy v různých regionech, abyste si otevřeli tu ascendanci.
Coin, it may be placed in the relic altar to begin the trial.
Dáš ji tady do trialu. A to bude labyrint? To bude něco jak labyrint? No
In
to
the
víš,
trial
jo.
of the Sekimas,
Něco takového.
each room has its own challenges to overcome. In this room, each rare monster you kill will send its blood to the chalice in the center of the room. Once the chalice is filled, you will be able to proceed.
Musíš zabíjet tady monstra, abys naplnil kalich
you need to be
krví.
very careful. Each hit will not only hurt you, but will damage your honor. The monsters are well telegraphed, so that you can avoid their attacks, but if you run out of honor, you will fail the trial and need to find another coin in order to try again. It is a good idea to make sure that you are well prepared before challenging the trial of the Secumus.
Musíš dát bacha, aby tě netrefovali, jinak ztrácíš prostě.
After each room, you will be rewarded.
Tvojí
In
čest,
this
kdyby,
case,
a
you have been given a key that can be used to unlock chests later in the trial. Once you have claimed your reward, you will be shown a map of the rest of the floor and may choose how you wish to proceed. Which challenges would you like to face, and which rewards do you want to claim?
Ty můžeš vybrat v tom challenge, do jaký půjdeš místnosti a tím si jakoby generuješ svůj dungeon.
For example, entering this room will afflict you with spiked shell that will cause all monsters in the rest of the trial to have 50% increased life. You will want to take care if you choose such a path.
Odměnu, ale monstra jsou třeba těžší a tak.
There are many different challenges and rewards as you journey through the trial.
Tohle Blizzardu trvalo 4 sezóny a pak to odebrali.
Waves of monsters. And strange artifacts will test your honor. As you progress, you'll be able to gain boons from the Jinn, which will help you on your journey. For example, the Secuma's cloak will revive you once if you die, giving you a second shot at a run. One of the rewards you may find is Sacred Water, an extremely valuable and treasured resource to the Jinn and the Maraketh. Trading it with the Jinn will allow you to receive many benefits. You can recover honor, gain additional boons, or remove afflictions.
Okay. Když jak zabíš monstra, tak dostáváš nějakou posvátnou vodu a můžeš si jakoby v nějakých asi mezi místnostech třeba obnovit tu honor, jakoby tu čest. Pak tady máš bosse prostě na konci.
Having defeated the boss, you've earned the right to ascend, but first, the loot.
Je to jakoby labirint, ale jiný trošku.
The keys you have found may be used to open the various treasures in the vault at the end of the floor. We only have a single bronze key, so we'll just have to open one of these small chests. If you want to open the better ones, you'll need silver or gold keys. Let's use the Altar of Ascendancy. Your first ascension will allow you to pick your class and grant you 2 points to use in the tree. Now there are more floors and many more rewards that can be found within the Trial of the Secumus, but we'll save that for the section on the endgame. For now, let's talk about the second Ascendancy trial, the Trial of Chaos. In Path of Exile 2, you can choose whichever trial you like to earn your ascension. Each culture on Rayclast had their own methods to ascend.
Můžeš si vybrat, jaký chceš dělat tu zkoušku. Každý region má svoje jakoby questy. Na to. Nebo si je můžeš různě mixovat. Budou mít zatím 2 ty regiony připravený, 2 ty zkoušky.
Before the Vaal embraced the science of corruption, their civilization worshipped chaos. This ancient trial was once used by the Vaal to test their high priests. A high priest of the Vaal must show willingness to risk everything to gain power. Entry to the trial requires a token from a strange entity known only as the Trial Master. For those in which he sees potential, he shall inscribe an ultimatum. Many have attempted these trials in search of greatness. Most have perished. Will you be able to defy the odds? Before you begin each chamber, the Trial Master will offer you a reward and a choice. Choose one of 3 tribulations to affect you through the rest of the trial. These modifiers might beef up the monsters, curse the player, or add environmental hazards like turrets or trap runes.
Vždycky vybereš, co bude v té další místnosti asi. Když se tady týpek vybral, že tam budou nějaký věže a...
The Trial Master will fill it with hazards to test your commitment. In this case, you must destroy all the monsters that fill the room, while dealing with the lightning projectiles from the
musíš zabít všechny monstra v té místnosti a procházet další místnost.
After each room, you will need to make a choice. Take the rewards you have earned so far, or go double or nothing. Increase your rewards, but take on more risk. Each tribulation you add is minor on its own, but they quickly stack on top of each other and can become overwhelming.
A vždycky dostaneš jako nějakou odměnu za to, že dokončíš další místnost.
There are many types of chambers in the trial. Each will test your resolve in different ways.
Trial z jedničky,
This one
tak
simply
oni tam
requires you
budou dávat
survive for a
mechaniky, co
certain
byly v
amount of time.
jedničce. To je jasný.
Another requires you to escort the stone idol through the level as elevators full of monsters descend to attack you. Should you be able to get through the first 3 chambers, you will face your first boss.
První
The order
boss
of the bosses is random, and combined with the tribulations you have selected, the fight will never feel the same.
Nikdy to nebude stejný, protože se to může
After
vždycky
defeating the boss, you
random
may
generovat.
claim your rewards. Of course there are the items, but you also gain the right to ascend. If you already did the Trial of the Sycamores, then you can claim 2 more points to add to your Ascendancy class. Now it's possible to go much deeper. There are more bosses, rewards, and risks to take, but we'll talk more about that when we get to endgame. So how about we talk about that now? So far we've only been showing you footage from the campaign, but some people would argue that the endgame is where the game truly begins. Something that happens almost every time a new action RPG launches is people saying, there isn't enough endgame content. Well, we want to make sure that in PoE 2, people don't feel that way. And we actually only changed our development priority for this recently. The first 3 acts of PoE 2 already take around 25 hours to complete.
25 hodin za první 3 akty, 45.
This is already a
level.
pretty significant campaign. On the other hand, people spend hundreds of hours in endgame each league. We realized that finishing the rest of the campaign for early access was actually a bad idea. Instead of having acts 4 to 6 in early access, we could concentrate on endgame and make that great.
Zaměřil se teďka na
a
endgame.
25-hour campaign is already a huge game with lots of content. But for existing action RPG players, what you mostly care about is all the endgame challenges to overcome. So several months ago, we switched the entire development team's focus over to making endgame content.
Přepnuli celý fokus týmu, aby udělali endgame.
Around 400 monster types.
50 bossů a 400 monster v endgame. 80% hotovo.
Double the size of the game during early access and into release.
Zdvojnásobili
Now, in order to make the endgame happen at the same character level as what it would be after we added the rest of the acts, we've added a second difficulty level called Cruel, where you repeat the campaign with all the monsters and bosses leveled up.
Jak z toho, jak z Diabla.
You can kind of think of it as like a New Game Plus.
New Game Plus, prostě dojedeš 1, 2, 3 akt a potom ho jedeš znova na větší obtížnost v Diablu 2 prostě.
Level 65 where the endgame begins.
Dokud nebudou mít hotový ty akty. Až jako budou mít všechny akty, tak to odeberou.
But what is the endgame? To explain that, I'll hand over to Mark. He can tell you all about it.
Ty kráso, pojď na to.
Hi, I'm Mark Roberts, Game Director on Path of Exile 2. Well, one thing that Path of Exile is known for is having a lot of distinct endgame content to choose between. Each endgame mechanic needs to have its own progression system, areas, bosses, rewards, and player power that can only be gained from that content. We are going to be adding a lot more over time, but for Path of Exile 2 we decided to start with 7 distinct systems you can progress.
7 endgame systémů.
This is the Atlas, and it serves as the core of the endgame for Path of Exile 2. It's infinite and expands in all directions. Now, we are not going to spoil the plot too much here, but corruption from the beast has blighted the land, and your objective is to help fight it. In the center of the Atlas you will find the Ziggurat, a temple in which the Val research the fundamentals of space and time. Here we can open portals to nearby locations and begin cleansing corruption and finding resources. In order to power the portal device, we will need waystones. Each waystone has a tier which will determine the level of the monsters that you will face. To go to an area, simply click one that is adjacent to an area that you have already completed. Insert the waystone and click Traverse. Portals will open, allowing you and your party to travel to the area you have selected. All the areas in the endgame feel distinct from the locations in the campaign, and we have dialed the randomization up to 11.
Všechny území v endgame jsou jiný než z kampaně.
Totally random, and the combination
A pokaždé jsou náhodný,
very interesting combat situations. There are over 400 monster types in early access, and they have a lot of varied and interesting abilities. Depending on which combinations you face, you might find some serious challenges. In order to cleanse the corruption from the area, you will need to defeat all the powerful rare and unique enemies in it.
Musíš porazit všechny rare a unique
the area
enemáky.
will be marked as completed and you will be able to travel past it to progress deeper into the world. If you die, then the map can no longer be run, and you will have to find another way around to get to the areas behind it. There are also all kinds of other random encounters you might run into as you play maps. One such encounter are precursor artifacts. These are ancient, corrupting monuments that irradiate the monsters around them. The monsters that feed off the corruption are drawn to their power. If you defeat the monsters and cleanse the artifact, you will get a powerful temporary buff. Some of the buffs make you faster, others rain lightning or fire around you, and some even give you increased experience or help you find better items. You can also find strong boxes. These enigmatic chests guard piles of treasure. but are always a trap. Monsters lie in wait to attack you the moment you open it,
Jasně,
and the boxes
strongboxy,
often have
vidíš
mechanisms to unleash powerful spells or dangerous debuffs. There are different types of strongboxes
Dá se na
containing
nich
different
craftit.
items, and you can even use your currency items to craft them on the fly, so you can optimize the content. But be careful of opening one you can't handle.
No, to je hustý. Pokud umřeš, tak máš smůlu a přijdeš o tu mapu. Jsou tam, je to mnohem víc hardcore, než to bylo, vidíš co.
In essences, solidified crystalline corruption. These dangerous monsters can be broken free. If you defeat them, the essence they drop can be used to upgrade normal items to magic items with a guaranteed mod from a category.
Ale... Esence přidávají.
We could use this one on some boots to ensure a movement speed mod.
Jasný. Bez jedničky.
Rarely, essences will also drop that allow you to upgrade magics to rares, adding the guaranteed mod.
Jo, měli by nabíhat. Když tak si refreshní stream jenom.
This is incredibly powerful, since it allows you to get a second deterministic mod in your crafting projects. Combining these with the currencies that are commonly found in Rayclast for modifying items, and we can get a very nice pair of boots indeed.
Ten crafting vypadá zjednodušeji a dobře.
Can also be crafted using your currency items. Adding prefix mods will improve the rewards, while suffix mods increase danger.
Můžeš craftit i na ty waystony, pomocí kterých se aktivují ty mapy.
Waystones will drop. Adding mods to your waystones is key to progressing to higher tiers and sustaining them, but it will require you to take on larger challenges. There are a variety of factors you have to consider when crafting your waystones. Some maps will have higher density, some lower, some have more magic and rare chests, or monsters, some are more linear, and others more open. Make sure you explore and think about what makes certain maps good if you want to maximize your returns. As you cleanse corruption from higher and higher tiers of the Atlas, you will gain points that you can spend in the Atlas tree. This tree allows you to juice the danger and rewards of all areas in the endgame. You could increase the number of monsters, the number of rares,
Za dokončování map dostáváte Atlas pointy a tím si můžete tu endgame
even the
přizpůsobit.
quantity of item drops. As you explore the endgame world map, you'll notice various different biomes, from snow-capped mountains to dense jungle valleys. Most maps are restricted to certain biomes.
Wow.
As you continue to explore
Takže ty
deeper into
mapy
the Atlas,
jsou podle
there
těch
are all
biomů.
sorts of things to discover. These cities are constructed by different peoples of Rayclast and have specific items that can be found there. These strange structures marked on the map don't appear to do anything for now. Perhaps you'll work out how to use them later. You might find unique maps like Untainted Paradise, an undisturbed island full of beasts that give an extreme amount of experience. You may even find a lonely man just enjoying his retirement who will give you a unique item for free. In addition, you can find special areas that would make a good spot to set up camp. Clear these areas of their hostile inhabitants, and you'll be able to claim them as your own hideout. You can decorate your hideout as you see fit, and invite various NPCs to join you there to create your own personal base of operations.
Můžeš si vytvořit jakoby svůj vlastní baráček.
A great tool for exploration are towers. These mysterious precursor constructs are dotted around the Atlas. Completing the tower will reveal a large area around it, allowing you to scout out the next challenge. There are lots of things to find, so keep looking. Some sections of your Atlas are influenced by corruption. This adds extra modifiers to the maps in the region, increasing difficulty and rewards. Here, slaying monsters in close proximity to each other will cause the vestiges of corruption within them to merge together, forming powerful and grotesque abominations. You may have noticed while looking at the Atlas that some of the areas have these icons above them. The icon indicates that the area contains some kind of special encounter. This icon indicates that the area has a powerful boss. Because only 1 in 4 maps contain a map boss, we are able to make them very powerful and very rewarding. These bosses come from the campaign, but have had their difficulty increased with changes to AI and some of their abilities.
A mění se jim ability a AI, aby byly zajímavý
you
vždycky.
can choose to take them on or avoid them. If you do choose to hunt bosses though, then you will be rewarded with special points for the boss hunting section of the Atlas skill tree. The points here will allow you to specialize in boss killing, giving you much greater rewards for defeating them.
si do Atlasu dáš body třeba na zabíjení bossů a máš z nich víc odměn.
We are adding specialized trees in order to make it so you don't feel the need to respec your points when you change between different types of content. We will be showing you 7 of these by the end of this presentation, so there is still a lot more to come. Bosses are not the only icon you will see on the Atlas. Let's take a look at one of the in-game systems, Breach. If you played PoE 1, you might be familiar with Breach. For PoE 2, we have created sequels to several PoE 1 leagues. While the mechanic is familiar, the monsters, bosses, rewards, and progression are all new. A breach is a tear in the fabric of reality. Opening it will allow you to see the demons and otherworldly monstrosities that lie in wait on this other plane of existence. By engaging with a breach, you'll create a bridge between their world and Rayclast. In order to keep the breach open, you will need to kill the demons that pour forth. The faster you can kill the monsters, the more monsters you will fight, and the more loot you will find. You can also find clasped hands that will open and drop more items if you run over them. These can be a good boost to the rewards of the breach, so keep an eye out. One of the rewards that you may find while fighting monsters from Breach are tablets. Tablets are special items that can be used with precursor towers to add more encounters to the Atlas. Breaches will drop breach tablets. Clicking on a completed tower will allow you to consume the tablet to add more breaches to areas within range of the tower. This makes all the content in the Atlas self-sustained. Want to do more breaches? Find the tablets, add them to your towers, get more breaches, getting more tablets. Soon your Atlas will be covered in otherworldly domains. In addition, like all items in PoE, you can craft them. Use your currency to add mods to your tablets, allowing you to upgrade all the breaches in range. Tablets can have up to 2 mods. These mods do things like adding extra rare monsters, extra classed hands, or even monster density of breaches, allowing you to keep them open longer. Often, you will find multiple towers near to each other with overlapping areas of effect. This can allow you to really juice the mechanic by stacking the mods from multiple tablets. In your fight to hold the breach demons at bay, you may want to use the powers of their world against them. Each in-game mechanic always has player power that can only be gained from that mechanic, and Breach is no different. In Breach, you will find catalysts, items that can increase the quality of rings and amulets by improving specific mods. You can also find Breach rings, a special base type that can have its quality improved by catalysts up to 50%. In this case, you could create a ring with around 170 life. Breach rings can become some of the strongest rings in the game, giving you some good motivation to face the demon hordes. In addition, each in-game mechanic needs to have a pinnacle in-game encounter. While killing breach monsters, you may find breach splinters. Collect enough of these and you'll be able to create a breach stone. Using a vile technology called the Realm Gate, you can use your breach stone to access their domain and bring the fight to them. In this twisted domain, you will find nothing but a single massive breach. Triggering it will reveal hordes of breach inhabitants. And should you be fast enough, you will be able to fight their leader, Zesht. We that are one.
Každá mechanika bude mít svýho bosse. Tady bude jakoby tenhle ten Zesht, nebo co to je? Když porazíš dost monster. Ty vole, to je jako, vypadá luxusně, čet, že? Ty kráso, tak to je trošku jiný souboj než ty bídný bossové v Diablu.
This is just one of the pinnacle encounters of PoE 2. We won't be showing the rest of them, so you will have to discover them for
Ukážou nám jenom jeden, aby nás neto.
This is some of the hardest content we have ever made.
Prej to je nejtěžší obsah, co zatím udělali, nebo jeden z nejtěžších.
They can only be found from them, but that's not all. We still have the progression system. Defeating Zesht will give you points to allocate into the breach section of the Atlas tree. Allocating these points will make breaches and the breach domain even harder, but will give you more rewards. The small nodes will increase the difficulty of the twisted domain, while the large nodes have more specific bonuses. For example, this node adds more clasped hands to your breaches, and adds a pack of magic monsters that can guard them. Get some more points and you can allocate Waking Nightmare. which will double the number of splinters you get from clasped hands.
Jasně, když zabíjíš bosse, dostaneš ty splintery speciální z něj, pak si teda už do toho atlastří ty body a dostáváš víc odměn z těch bridgeů a můžeš fightit i větší obtížnost toho ze stav.
Defeating Sesht at difficulty 4 will be a challenge indeed, but there are many more threats in break class.
Až 4 obtížnosti ten boss. Si ho můžeš buffovat a bude mít mnohem víc odměn.
Built by the mysterious king in the mists. If you encounter this symbol on the atlas, then you know that the area contains ritual altars. Ritual altars demand tribute. Every monster you slaughter in the circle will feed the altar. After the sacrifice, touch it to begin the ritual. The monsters you just killed will be resurrected by the King of the Mist's dark magic, and you must fight to survive. The tribute you have offered to the altar can be spent to buy powerful items, but they can be expensive. To gain more tribute, you will want to find more altars. Each successive ritual you do within an area will spawn the monsters revived by the previous ones, in addition to the ones you sacrifice next to it. By the end of an area, you will be fighting a truly imposing number of foes, but will have a significant amount of tribute to spend. One of the rewards you can buy with tribute are omens. These are special items that allow for metacrafting. Crafting items that affect other crafting items. Have an item with good prefixes but bad suffixes? This omen will help you to remove the mod you don't want while keeping the ones you do. There are a bunch more of these with different effects, but we will leave them for you to discover. Now don't forget that Ritual will also drop tablets, which can be used to specialize into getting more rituals. If you want to get to the pinnacle boss of Ritual, then you will probably want to use them. They can also be crafted to grant mods, making your rituals more rewarding. The pinnacle encounter of Ritual is the King in the Mists. Feared by the Asmeri people, he is said to have brought eternal darkness to the Wildwood. We won't show the encounter, but just like Breach, there are a range of unique items you can get for defeating him, and you will gain points in the Ritual section of the Atlas tree. Some maps have been touched by insanity. A mysterious entity has taken a special interest in you. Step through the looking glass and you will find your nightmares coming to life. When you touch a mirror, the mists of delirium will spread out across the area, infecting your mind. You must stay within the mist to maintain the nightmare, which is as profitable as it is terrifying.
Tohle mi přijde hodně podobný jak ten Breach, no.
However, the deeper into the mist you travel, the stronger the monsters are. Be careful not to overstay your welcome. Rare and unique enemies will become vessels for terrifying demons, who will manifest out of them to unleash powerful attacks on you. The mist also offers a strange crafting material, distilled emotions. By combining these emotions, you are able to instill your amulet with a notable from the passive skill tree. This is like gaining an extra passive point for free, attached to your gear. They are also particularly great because you don't have to traverse the tree to get them, allowing you to get off-class bonuses that would normally be much harder to get.
Jasně.
Distilled emotions can also be used to instill your endgame maps, applying Delirious to them and adding additional difficulty and rewards, allowing you to further juice your endgame maps. The tablets you can find from Deliria can be used to further improve it, increase pack size, make the fog dissipate slower, or improve your progress towards the pinnacle encounter of Delirium. Speaking of which, every now and then you will find simulacrum splinters. The mysterious entity will create strange encounters based on warped versions of your own memories. Monsters and simulacrums come in waves that get progressively more difficult. You will receive loot at the end of each wave, and you will have to make the decision to leave now or continue on, facing up against even tougher foes from the mist. The bosses you will face as you get deeper into a simulacrum are truly terrifying. If you can complete a simulacrum, you will gain points for the Delirium section of the Atlas skill tree. Next up, we have Expedition. Occasionally, while clearing corruption, you will encounter these Kalguran settlers. The Kalgurans have discovered ancient burial sites with lost Verisium artifacts, and they want you to help dig them up with explosives. The Kalgurans have marked the locations where the relics can be found. Place explosives as best you can to dig up as many as possible. There is just one problem. Corruption has brought the corpses of their ancestors to life, so you might have to do a little cleanup before you can reclaim the artifacts. You can also find remnants. The destruction of which will further anger the restless dead. Each one you blow up will make the subsequent monsters more powerful, but also more rewarding. Danig, Rog, Tujin, and Gwenin will exchange the artifacts for useful items and runic magic. You can also find tablets to increase the number of expeditions and the rewards. This one increases the radius of explosives, while this one increases the number of remnants you will find. Eventually, you might discover a logbook. These are special maps full of buried treasure and relics. Essentially one giant dig site. Here you can create an extremely long chain of explosives and go through a very high number of remnants. But be careful, many remnants have mobs that can really break your build, so you will probably want to avoid these ones. If you add too many remnants, you could easily make the encounter harder than you can handle. There are all sorts of interesting things buried under the ground in logbooks. You might find dripping caves and hidden pirate caches. But the most powerful encounter is Olroth, the ancient undead commander of the Knights of the Sun. Defeating him will grant you unique rewards, as well as points to spend in the expedition section of the Atlas tree. So those are the in-game systems on the Atlas, but we are not done yet. The trials we talked about earlier have much more content when you get to endgame too. Just like the other endgame systems, they also have progression mechanics, unique rewards, and player power that can only be gained from them. As you get higher level points for the Trial of the Sycamores, you will unlock more floors to explore. Each floor has its own challenging rooms and a floor boss that you will need to kill.
Trials?
There are 4 floors in total, leading to another pinnacle boss at the end of the last floor, which can only be accessed at endgame. The Trial of the Sycamores is where you'll find jewels, which you can socket into your tree. These are like passives that you can craft with your currency items. They can be really powerful as they allow you to stack modifiers that may not be easily accessible on the tree normally. This jewel gives lightning damage and shock chance, for example. There are quite a few jewel sockets on the tree, so it's possible to gain a lot of power here. There are also other types of jewels that don't provide any bonuses themselves, but affect other passives surrounding them. This jewel increases the effect of small nodes and radius by 25%. With careful placement in the tree, you could get a significant amount of power from it. There are also unique jewels available with very interesting effects, but you will have to find those for yourself. In order to push further into the trial and uncover the secrets of the Maraketh, you will want to take advantage of its progression system, relics. Relics are items that can be placed in the relic altar as you start the trial. They give special bonuses that affect the trial, making it easier and increasing its rewards. Of course, you can craft these with your currency items, making them even stronger. If you can complete the entire trial overcoming all 4 floors, the final boss will reward you with one of many unique relics. These relics will be consumed when used on your next run, but can reward you with unique and powerful items. For example, this is the Last Flame. If you use it, you will have only 1 honor for the entire trial, so you will need to do a completely hitless run.
Tím, jak dokončuješ ty
trials, tak
dostáváš ty
As you gain inscribed ultimatums of higher and higher levels, the number of chambers that you can go through increases.
A tím si jakoby potom zlepšuješ ty další rany a dávají ti lepší bonusy, ale taky negativa.
Even more rewards. At endgame, you can progress through up to 10 chambers with 3 bosses on a single run. Stacking 10 tribulations on top of each other will make this a significant challenge, but it's worth it. The Trial Master will tempt you with items of the Vaal Empire, such as Vaal Orbs. Vaal Orbs are powerful crafting items that corrupt your gear with random, mysterious outcomes. Corruption prevents an item from being modified further, so it has to be the last step of your craft. But it's also the most impactful one. For example, if you use one on your body armor, it might add a new powerful enchantment, or it might reroll up to half of its modifiers. Vaal Orbs also have the ability to add a socket, allowing you to bypass the normal restriction of how many sockets an item can have. A body armor could get up to 3 sockets this way, allowing for a significant number of mobs.
Maximální počet soketů, ti to může dát na brnění třeba 3.
Enchantments or sockets to uniques can make them incredibly powerful, but there is a good
a může
chance
dávat
that
na
you will break
uniky
them as
speciální
well.
afixy, které
The
tam doma
Trial
nejsou.
Master will also occasionally offer you soul cores. Originally formed by Chaos, the Vaal sought to replicate soul cores through human sacrifice rituals and blood magic to power their civilization. Soul cores are powerful socketable items, with mods that cannot be obtained from regular runes. Like all in-game content, there is of course a pinnacle boss. The final chamber will drop keys to this mysterious door. Some say this is where the Trial Master himself resides. Perhaps you are willing to take the risk to find out. Had enough yet?
Okay.
Because there is still just one more thing. The most difficult content in Path of Exile 2. While mapping, you might come across this fortress that has emerged from underground, surrounded by an enormous maze riddled with danger. Is the maze preventing something from getting in, or something getting out? This fortress is of ancient origin, and its construction has similarities to the towers and tablets that you have been using on your journey through the endgame. It is clear from the entrance that there are 3 keys required to enter. Local factions are vying for access to the fortress in order to seize the power they believe will be inside. Each of the faction's leaders have managed to get their hands on one of the keys, so you will need to defeat them. Each faction is led by an uber-act boss. You can see one of them inhabiting the city, but in order to fight him, you will first need to defeat their 2 lieutenants in the adjacent zones. Be careful. If you fail against either of the lieutenants, or to kill the leader, they will move on, and you will need to find them again. Kill all the Uber bosses and you will gain access to the fortress. We aren't trying to spoil it, as we can't wait to see you guys attempt it for the first time. But is there a tree you get points in after killing it? Of course there is. This is Path of Exile. There is always another tree.
So these are your challenges for PoE 2. As you can see, this project is crazy huge, way bigger than even we expected when we started out. But how do you gain access? Well, during early access you'll need a key to get in. To thank our existing PoE supporters who have spent more than $480, we'll be giving you guys a key for the PC version for free. Anyone else who wants one can get one by purchasing one of the new early access supporter packs that have just been released to the store. If you just want early access to PoE 2, then you can get a key in the $30 early access pack. The pack also comes with $30 of points to spend in the MTX store. But we also have a variety of other supporter packs filled with exclusive microtransactions, points to spend in the store, and even physical items. The cosmetics can be used right now in PoE 1 and Path of Exile 2 when early access starts. Most of this footage has been recorded in Path of Exile 1, since that's where you can use them immediately. The Lord of Ogham supporter pack contains a cosmetic armor set befitting of the Count of Ogham himself. There is also a matching back attachment which has an alternate variant depicting the influence of corruption. Also in this pack you can find a portal formed of the rusted armor of the fallen soldiers in the Red Vale of Ogham, and the offspring of a vicious crowbell boss found in the hunting grounds. This one doesn't look so vicious though. On top of that, you'll receive the Iron Count's Y-hander to apply to your one-handed or two-handed swords. For those who are wanting to decorate your hideouts with fond memories and tales of Path of Exile's history, you will also get a series of hideout statues. This pack contains the statue of Hillock. For Path of Exile 1's closed beta, each pack contained a true New Zealand icon, the Kiwi. Following this tradition, all packs in this series will also contain a new themed Kiwi pet. The pet will loyally follow you into battle, but run away at the first sign of trouble. Become the ruler of the desert with the King of the Faradin supporter pack. Show your mastery of traversing the sands of the Vasteri plains. The body armor will allow you to glide along the ground with ancient sand magic. Now each armor set comes with body armor, boots, gloves and helmet, but the boots are covered in sand. If you prefer to show them off, you can turn the gliding off if you want. The accompanying back attachment equips you with 2 powerful pillars that can control and manipulate lightning. They will periodically release their energy in a powerful blast while in town, and hover in a circle around you, arcing lightning between them, forming a barrier of energy. Replace the appearance of any bow with the Faradin's Glory skin. Or replace the appearance of a spear with the Tyranny's End spear skin. This spear skin can be applied to staves and war staves in Path of Exile 1. If you want to truly show your worth as a King of the Faradin, then you definitely need your trusty, moving entire city fortress known as the Dreadnought to travel across the Vasteri plains. In Path of Exile, you can decorate your hideout however you like, and it's no exception here. It comes with a variety of thematic elements to use, or use decorations from elsewhere in the game. Additionally, you will get the Deshret's Blessing level up effect. The King of the Faradin Kiwi pet, and last but not least, a statue depicting the Val Oversoul from Path of Exile 1. For those who don't know how supporter packs work, each pack comes with all of the cosmetics from the previous tier, so you'll get all the items from the Lord of Ogham supporter pack as well.
Tak dostaneš všechny odměny z
The
předchozího.
Thaumaturge of the Vaal supporter pack features an armor set and back attachment themed around the Vaal and their pursuit of science and progress. You can find the Soul Core weapon effect in this pack, which causes thaumaturgic energy harnessed from sacrifice to spill from your weapon. This pack also contains Doyani's Idol. It replaces the default appearance of any foci to an ancient relic once used by Doyani, and this can be applied to shields in Path of Exile 1. That's not the only Vaal weapon you'll find. It also contains the Wand of the Thaumaturge skin, and the Royal Sacrifice Dagger skin. You wouldn't think to put sacrificial gems on a Kiwi, but the Vaal did. Thaumaturge of the Vaal supporters will receive the Thaumaturge of the Vaal Kiwi pet, and the Statue of Dominus. This is also the first pack in the series with a physical item. When purchasing this pack, you'll receive a Path of Exile 2 logo t-shirt. If you don't want one, you can opt out and return for additional points to spend in the store. Becoming a Warlord of the Kardu supporter will grant you an armor set and back attachment, adorned in jade carvings and iridescent feathers resembling power. Enough to even impress the ancestral gods, specifically Tukohama, the Karui god of war. Overkill, you say? I think the Karui people would disagree. Why not drop a gigantic totem on rare enemies you slay to crush them to a pulp? Replace your crafting bench in your hideout with the Ancestral Canoe crafting bench, where Ancestral Chief Mata will summon a giant canoe manned by Karui warriors to aid in your crafting desires.
We must all start somewhere.
You'll also get a pair of weapon skins. Equip Akoya's Felling Axe skin to your one-hand or two-handed axes, or Tukohama's Crusher to your one-handed or two-handed maces. A true Karui warlord is always accompanied by their trusty Kiwi. Equipped with armor and harnessing ancestral magic, they make the perfect sidekick. Once one of the most feared beings in Rayclast, Malachi was slain by a powerful exile. May the statue commemorate the virtue of exiles past, present, and of the future. Of course, it's not all about dressing up in game. You'll want to look good in real life too. By becoming a Warlord of the Karui supporter, you'll also get a Path of Exile 2 hoodie. Our final tier of supporter pack in this series is the Liberator of Rayclast supporter pack. The Liberator of Rayclast armor set and back attachment come made with the finest materials in Rayclast, and shattered glass mosaics suspended in divine power. Set up your base of operations in the Beacon of Salvation hideout. Why restrict yourself to just one island when you can liberate more? The Beacon of Salvation hideout comes equipped with your own collection of small islands and personal operators of boats that you can use to row between them.
Mikinu s Diablo 2 nosím do práce každý den, kdo mě potká v Olmíku a tak mě hned pozná.
Decorate each island as you see fit to best represent your well-earned hideout. Everyone in your hideout can use their own boat. Why not have some races?
Wow, dostaneš lodičku a můžeš dělat závody.
Twilight portal effect, a beautiful mosaic piece of art that shatters and reveals a gateway to your desired destination as you approach it. As you walk away, the glass magically reforms back to its original form.
Třeba mi dá X-Zone.
Rule and style.
Běžte na X-Zone. Dejte vykřičník X-Zone někdo do chatu.
This map device can create portals to in-game
Ať
maps.
mají radost za
But
prokliky.
it also comes with a throne you can sit on to oversee your growing kingdom. Look down on the plebeians running your maps. Being the Liberator, though, is not just about sitting on your throne all day. If you do decide to join the fight yourself, you can leave a High Priest in charge as your second in command. Liberator of Rayclast supporters will also get a set of varied weapon skins. The Light of Divinity Scepter skin, the Deliverance crossbow skin, the Justice flail skin, and the Redemption shield skin. Once again, you'll have an accompanying Kiwi, and of course a statue depicting one of the most iconic events in Rayclast's history. The battle between a powerful exile and Kitava, the Insatiable.
To je kráso.
With the help
Socha
of two deities, Sin and
souboje
Innocence, the exile was able to defeat
mezi
him once and for
Exilem
all.
a Kitavou z jedničky.
This supporter pack also
Dostaneš
contains
sochu.
the Path of Exile 2 art book.
O, to bych tak
This
chtěl.
215-page
Já ty artbooky
full-color art
miluju.
book includes a huge amount of amazing concept art and lore
Ty kráso.
produced during the long and exciting
Tak to
journey
je-
of Path of Exile 2's development.
To je hodně hezký.
And finally, Path of Exile has a tradition of letting the community participate in designing game features. For Path of Exile 2, we're adding the Twilight Order foil reliquary. By becoming a Liberator of Rayclast supporter, once Path of Exile 2 is released, you will be able to select any unique item you have found and be able to drop it from the reliquary. Once players have submitted their items, keys to the reliquary will start dropping, and other players will be able to find foil versions of uniques that you have submitted, along with a message for the lucky player.
Ty kráso, si koupíš ten supporter pack největší, tak si můžeš udělat foil verzi uniku, která má tvoji zprávu na tom uniku. Jak to bylo ve jedničce, dá se říct.
There are a few exceptions where the item class clearly doesn't exist, such as crossbows or flails. And there are also a few microtransactions on weapon types that are unavailable in PoE 2 at the start of early access. Once classes that use those weapon types are added, those microtransactions will be available to use.
No.
If you can't decide which supporter pack to choose yet, you
říkali,
can always start with the early access supporter pack that just includes a key and some points to spend in the store. Then you can upgrade to any of the following tiers at a later date. These supporter packs will be available for purchase
Můžeš upgradeovat na vyšší týry později.
We'd really like to thank you for your ongoing support.
Za 3 měsíce to dokoupíš.
Path of Exile 2 could not have happened. Now, I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions. Stick around, because coming up next, we have a live Q&A with Ziggy D.
Q&A za Ziggym D. No, chat, jako... Velmi dobrý. Velmi dobrý.
To the post-show discussion and Q&A. I hope you all enjoyed what you've seen so far. It's been pretty exciting for us here as well, as you guys have been inspired already just watching things. And you're already cooking a new ascendancy class.
Yeah, for sure. You've got to do design whenever you can.
Yeah. Absolutely. There's been a few fun moments here already. But I'm your host, Ziggy D, and I'm joined by Jonathan and Mark to talk about everything you've seen. Honestly, it's
shut up and take
so
my
much.
money. Přesně.
I mean, we were really keen to make sure that when we went into early access, that people didn't feel like it was just, you know, limping along and kind of, you know, just like a minimal amount of content. We really wanted to kind of blow people away. So hopefully people feel like there was enough content. Because yeah, it was certainly a mission to get all that stuff in.
Yeah, I did come here expecting that there would be, you know, maybe a basic mapping placeholder end game and your 3 acts and you know, the half the classes, but you've made a decision here clearly that's got the core PoE player community in mind.
Absolutely. So, I mean, we have to make sure, like, I mean, look, Path of Exile's endgame is kind of known for the fact that you get to choose between different types of content and that, like, you know, some people enjoy one thing, some people enjoy another, and I feel like that choice is, like, a huge part of what makes it good. So if we didn't have that when we entered endgame, then I don't think that would be, you know, like, that wouldn't be a Path of Exile endgame. So that's kind of what we have to make sure of. So we kind of said, okay, well, like, what is the minimum number of, like, different in-game things you need to be able to have in order to be able to actually have a viable in-game choices. And that's how we ended up with what we have here.
I definitely feel like a lot of games nowadays release, you know, and their campaigns intact and real good. You get to the end game and it just falls real flat.
Yeah.
And it was certainly a very important moment for us when we were like, hold on, that's the wrong thing to do. Like, let's not make the same mistake as everyone else. Let's pivot. And we actually did that, and
to jsme nechtěli udělat takovou chybu, tak jsme radši udělali endgame a pak budeme dávat zbytek.
All of a sudden, you know, 100 times bigger.
Úplně přesná narážka na Diablo 4 borci.
It was definitely hard though, because like, okay, like it's like we're progressing. It's like we would have made it. We would have gotten, you know, all these acts in if we hadn't have changed direction. It's like to actually say, you know what, we're going to specifically not finish this content. We'll be working on, you know, that we you know, it's like pins down everyone. We're stopping work on this. We're going to move over to endgame because it's actually more important. Like that was certainly a hard one.
That would have been some whiplash there, I imagine.
For sure. Well, I mean, it's like suddenly the whole, you know, like environment art team, it's like, you know, they're all just like, whatever you're working on, just scrap. You don't want to scrap, but, you know, like just stop it. we're doing something else now. So,
saving clothes, yeah.
Especially for a lot of the developers, because you've got to also think, like, a lot of our developers have just been working on this campaign for, what is it now, 6 years.
Like, I think it's even longer, actually.
Yeah, it's like just this epic journey, whereas none of them, you know, a lot of these people haven't been working on Path of Exile 1 this whole time, so some of us are like, you know, we're just churning out in-game with every league and doing all of that, but for a lot of these people, a lot of these developers, yeah, it was quite jarring to swap over, but everyone embraced it, you know, we talked about it, everyone was happy about it and stoked about it, and it just ended up coming out real awesome. So
I think it's landed well, and it definitely kind of blew me away when you... So even before I saw anything, we were in the car on the drive here, and you were just info dumping all of the end game. You're like, oh, we got this feature, we got this feature. I'm getting dopamine just from hearing about it. I haven't seen anything yet. But do you guys feel like you're competing against yourselves a little bit here? Because Path of Exile's kind of set the bar, the original game has set the bar for what is available to endgame in a game like this, and it makes it's not acceptable really to launch with just nothing in terms of end game now.
Absolutely. I mean, I mean, like if you're not competing with yourself, then I don't think you're going to make good progress, right? So that's what you really have to do.
Yeah, but cracking that out for beta even.
Is, absolutely.
Pretty
well,
exciting.
as I said, I just think it would not have landed nearly as well without that, and I think it's important that our existing Path of Exile 1 community feels like they're also served, like, we're doing all this stuff for new players, and that's really important, and that'll expand the audience. But, you know, if we launched and all the PoE 1 players are unhappy,
kdyby tam nebyla endgame, tak by to byl katastrofa.
We have to make sure that they also feel like, you know, they've got a game for both them and for all the new players we hope to bring into the genre.
Hele, já si myslím, že to je poslední na stejném engine jako Path of Exile dneska. Když se rozježdět jedničku, tak typuju, že tohle to bude náročnější, ale ne moc.
Immediately divisive, right? Obviously, that's the nature of it. That's how it goes, right? And so you have all of these different avenues because there are different players who like different types of content. So if you're just like, here's your one end game system, well, immediately then there is a portion of players who are just like, I don't want this, right? And so having all of these options is like ultra key, and that is what Path of Exile 1 has taught us. And again, it's like, I'd say lessons learned, you know, for the genre, and it is expanding in other games and stuff, but certainly as I said, competing with ourselves, yes, PoE 1 has, you know, 40 axes, you know, and we've got 7 really good ones here, and obviously more to come. But 7 is a lot, mind you.
Especially when it's all like, you know, like people have to learn a lot of things again. It's going to be very interesting to see how long it takes people to do the kind of difficulty 4 pinnacle content.
It's like
we have it's honestly like we actually don't even really know because like, you never know what people are going to find in terms of builds and so on. Like I'm hoping that it will take people a while to be able to work it out, but you know,
SSD disk 100 Pro, to bylo i na jedničku.
Easy, no problem, mate.
Na max detaily 2060 RTX jenom. 5600 XT, taky jenom na max detaily. 16 GB RAM. Úplně v pohodičce, procesory, Ryzen 5 3700X. To jsou kompy za 20 000. Reálně. Kompy za 20 000 to rozjedou na max.
What was that?
Možná za 25, abych nežral.
PoE 2 was first put forwards, like as to what it's going to be, because it was much smaller in scope originally.
Yeah, so when we started, it wasn't even a sequel. It was just we're just updating the character lists. And over time, it kind of feature creeped into like into a proper sequel. But the thing that we were saying is, whenever we were talking about it, and I guess this is the main thing, is that we're like, okay, when we make an area here, it needs to be that there's like a theme for it. It feels unique from everything else. We're not going to just like have recycled stuff like within the campaign that just feels like, oh, you know, we just took this area and modified it slightly. You know, each one's got to have its own stuff. It's got to have monsters that were like carefully thought about, that like, you know, fit in with the world, and it's got to have bosses that are actually like good tier quality. You know, and every area is going to have one. So those decisions have kind of been things that have meant that. They really raised the quality bar to a level that took us way longer than we even really expected. Like those things there, just like it's huge, right? Like honestly, I feel like we underestimated significantly what it would take to deliver that level of quality.
I remember really early on a battle I fought for, and I mean like way
Nemám na něj tolik času, ale když někam jedu nebo ležím v obýváku a jsem borování, tak
which obviously still holds a lot of, you know, power in terms of design motivations and philosophy and stuff within the company.
I moje hra funguje na
Steam Deck like the super uniques, and PoE 1 did them, and it's just like, here's a boss with 1 or 2 skills. And I remember very, very, very early on in PoE 2, I'm like, I want every single boss to be memorable and a thing. I don't want a unique monster that's just like dies in 2 seconds and uses heavy strike and has a fancy name. And I remember, I even got some push.
Poor Caleb.
I remember getting some pushback at the time and thinking, like, you know,
Na všechny platformy.
I love the bosses. My favorite part of everything. And so I was just like, I don't want this. This is just terrible. But of course, that decision, me pushing for that, me wanting that, turned into this megalithic. Now we have 50, aiming to be 100. Honestly, probably later, several more 100 once all the end games, everything start to evolve and more expansions comes out. And I'm like, yep, we maybe just made, you know, 100 times more work for ourselves.
Nechci říkat nějakou blbost, ale myslím si, že to bude na všechny, ale na PSku většinou ten store trvá díl.
Main, you know, attraction pieces of the game, and anyone who plays it is just like, holy crap, those boss fights are amazing. So like, you know, obviously some are bad and some are good to different people and all that. That's how it all goes. That's part of all the fun. But It is true that me pushing for that thing literally created thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of work. Now, worthwhile work, but it is again that exact thing of like the scope was kind of small on numerous axes, and as we just raised it and raised the quality bar to what we thought was good.
Tady vám to potom takhle vyjede, chat. Nyní máte nárok na hands-off zest, a musíte si ještě tady dát vyzvednout kořist. Tady si dáte vyzvednout kořist. A to vám tu kořist pošle na ten účet, jo? Drops vyzvednout.
Fun other anecdote, since we went out of that territory, it was originally codenamed Project Chimera.
What? I don't.
It was this pipe dream.
I've never been a fan of the code name.
It was this like there were times way back in the original Office. There was all this like
Steam Deck má strašně dobrý upscaling.
Sometimes it'd be a feature you can't really do in PoE1, and it was always like, we'll do it in Project Chimera. That was like amongst the developers, and people were like, what the heck is that? Now, ironically, there is a boss in Act 3 called. Well, it's got a different name, but it's called the Chimera internally. It is a chimera. It's a multi-headed beast, and you've seen it in a few of the marketing, things here and here. Yeah, different trailers, little snippets of it. And I think it's just ironic that was actually the first boss asset made. Before everything, the first monster, because back when we used to just make random monsters and we'll find out how to use them.
Já nevím, jestli tady reálně mám koukat na tu debatu, anebo jestli se na to vykašlat, jít spát a ráno brzo před prací udělat jakoby nějaký souhrn. Protože tady z toho pokecu jako, jo, něco se dozvíme, ale reálně už to nebude tak zajímavý. Jak chcete, chat?
We had a moment with the monster game designers where we're like, oh my god, it's happening, the Chimera is finally being finished. Holy, this is like, we were effectively like, we need to celebrate this boss finally being done. It was like at the origin, and now it's at this, point where we're about to deploy early access. Not to say the end, because the end is forever away.
Yeah, it's still the beginning of a journey in many ways.
Yep.
But on that note of celebrating, how do you guys feel having now kind of for the first time I feel really
já vás nechci zklamat, jestli tady někdo je kvůli té diskuzi, tak abych vám to jako přinesl, že jo.
Only being 2 weeks away from everyone playing it.
Je tady někdo, kdo stojí o tu diskuzi tady, tak se zeptám.
I think especially for, there's like a
bunch
of people on the PoE2 team who
počkat, restartovat, podívat se, jestli už to máš.
Going to be releasing. And that experience is something that like yeah, like it's tough, and honestly, I think that even we were feeling a little bit cocky actually about the fact because we release content for PoE1 all the time, and I feel like we kind of felt like we knew what it took to get a game released, but honestly, like PoE2 was just a whole entirely different demon.
V tom případě to tady asi takhle necháme. A já udělám videjko nějak prostě s nějakým souhrnem, kde to připravím, budu se snažit to mít ready prostě zítra odpoledne, někdy kolem, to nejdřív prostě to vydám na YouTube, takže na YouTube Viktor Břenek to bude a bude tam, doufám, co nejdřív i ta 7. sezona na Diablo, ale to pro mě není priorita teďka, to prostě vydám třeba v sobotu, když to prostě nepůjde, tak se s tím nebudu srát, ale uvidíme, budu se snažit, jo. Každopádně jenom takový asi nějaký závěrečný pocity, jsem z toho fakt reálně mega nadšenej. To, co ukázali, tak vypadá mnohem líp, než jak jsem si to původně představoval. A čekal jsem o mnohem méně obsahu, čekal jsem těch 30 bossů, čekal jsem 1 ascendancy klásu, čekal jsem mnohem méně endgame, nějakých jenom 30 map a pár monster a teďka jako tady 400 monster a tak dále, to je fakt jako Brutus. Takže vypadá to, že tohle to budeme teďka hodně měnit na kanálu, že to budeme hodně točit. Upozorňuji, že nejsem žádný Path of Exile master, takže kdo tady čeká nějakého profesionála, tak to tady není, ale budu se snažit co nejvíc to načerpat, nachytat i od vás, budovat komunitu. Na Discordu máme 2500 lidí aktuálně na RPG hry, takže určitě se tam přidejte, mrkněte na ten můj YouTube kanál, všechny odkazy jsou samozřejmě v popisku, jak Twitche nebo YouTube a případně se staňte fanoušky. Hele, a děkuju vám všem, já ještě pošlu někomu hosta. Komu mám dát hosta, chat? Chtěli byste hosta tady na korporace? Nebo kam bychom to poslali? Kolik vás tady je vůbec? 121. Možná se ještě bychom se mohli podívat, ty vole, jakoby... možná bychom se ještě mohli podívat na to. Na ten... Chápeš? Na ty saprotrpeky, jestli už tam jsou vidět. Shopy... Ten cinematic bychom se taky mohli podívat, no. Bude gilda? Jasně. Bude gilda určitě.
Sir, just what are we facing here?
Not even death can save you from me.
Sir, just what are we facing here?
A relic of the old world. Ready your men, Captain. We will only get one chance. And remember, when you hear the whispers, call for help. Do not attack.
You heard the whispers? What do you think he was on about?
It's Dorman, right?
Yeah.
Then Dorman, shut your damn mouth. Ugh, why do I always get stuck with these rookies?
Hey, the kid's got a mean cleave. Give him a chance.
Quiet.
Sullen!
A mean cleave, eh, Captain? Rookie can't even lift his own sword. Captain Oren? Captain? It's here. Rain! Send the signal!
What the fuck?
Rain! On my back, blade up!
Come on! I'm ready! It's a man!
No, it's not!
Run!
Voilà. Zavřeli hodně.
Captain! Captain!
Why are you here? What is this? Stop! Humanity isn't ready.
On your feet, lad.
Sir, the captain,
You'll be fine. Here.
What is it?
Get the body.
Stop. Mortal. It can still be contained. You don't know what you have on.
Your kind no longer control this world. We cannot destroy your body, it's true. But you will watch as we destroy everything you have built. Bind him! Feed grow, my child. I'll make sure you can eat your fill.
Proč mám pocit, že tahle potvůrka bude potom, co porazíš ve všech těch 3 regionech typy Nikolbossy, tak bude v tom finálním fortressu, jak tam dáš ty 3 klíče. Tady tahleta jako co leze z toho loga. Něco takového. To je jako hodně hustý, no, kamaráde. Dobrý. Pohodě. Tak jo. Tak v tom případě... Ne, díky všem. Žien. Jo, top cinematic. Dobré. Já vás portnu. Říkali, že bude i kytava. No tak let's go. Cinematic na úrovni Blizzardu úplně v pohodě, no. Úplně v pohodě. Fakt jako pohodička. Já vás dám ke kamarádovi, co taky streamuje. Já se jen podívám, jestli náhodou nekončí, abych to tam nedal. Nevypadá. Streamuje teda Stalker 2, ale tak to vám nevadí, ne? Jako, já bych to rád dal někomu, kdo mě supportuje. Radši. Takže bych to dal jemu. Takže tam pošlu raid. Když se vám tam bude líbit, tak vždycky můžete odejít. Jo? Děkuju, že jste tady byli. Vážím si toho. A určitě se uvidíme u zítřejšího videa a samozřejmě na streamech. Budu teďka streamovat skoro furt. Že bude to pecka. Mějte se skvěle. Děkuju na Twitchi. Čego. Tak. A děkuju na YouTube taky. Mějte se skvěle na YouTube. Ahoj.